All right, what's up? We are live. We are back. Week 10 for the NFL is alive and well. Hey, yo, is the microphone stand blocking our view? It is what it is. Chat, it'll just have to do for today. Welcome in, welcome in. We've got, I guess, a primetime game, a late window going on here. We've got basically the NFC West, I guess, playing right now. Hey, yo, we got Rams versus Niners and Seahawks versus Cardinals. So, luckily it is, I guess, it is three good teams. I guess I'm being a little unfair to this Rams-Niners game, maybe saying it's not a primetime game. That's sort of just the maybe it's the can we say the poster value? Is that a pause? Ayo, the poster value of the 49ers at this point has definitely fallen off. But we'll see. Their record is still good. Mac Jones, I guess he's gonna maybe end up being the starter for the rest of the year, chat. We'll see. I guess maybe we could talk out maybe the possibilities of that a little bit as well too. But the divisional aspect of this rivalry, it is in San Francisco. Hey, yo, it's almost a San Antonio there. We're thinking about NBA. We've got an artist, I guess, painting a picture right now for the NBA game on in the background. It is halftime for that, so I guess we'll have to wait a second for that action to get back going. Pause. But yeah, like we were saying, so that game should be good. It has playoff implications. It checks the boxes. I just don't know if like we said, we're bummed out. No Fred Warner. I guess we are Brock Purdy fans as well too. If we had to choose one, Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, hey yo, it is what it is. I just for the Niners maybe, but I guess for Shanahan, he'd been trying to get with Mac Jones this entire time. Is this like a rom-com, chat? Hey yo, we didn't even realize this was like a NFL coach quarterback rom-com. Like this entire time, it was like Shanahan almost chose Mac Jones back in the day. Like was that like, I guess, can you say like best friend? Because I guess you don't really know these guys per se. Hey, pause. But if we're going like just a familiarity, just hanging out, I guess, or whatever, like you wouldn't necessarily have any type of recognition of the guy's game, going outside of the college tape. It's not like, I guess, if your college coach got hired into the NFL, that'd be a different that'd be a way more, I guess, rom-com-esque version if Shanahan had coached Mac Jones in college and then went to the NFL and then drafted Trey Lance over him, maybe. But again, we all know at this point as well too, because it's been hashed out with Mac Jones being on that team and him, potentially winning out this starting job as well too, in sort of a Jacoby Brissett-esque way. The injury for Brock Purdy definitely helps there, but again, they had that moment where he could have chosen him in the past. Hey yo, and then Trey Lance, it is what it is. We're not. Well, I guess it didn't work out for Kyle Shanahan. I guess you could say it was the wrong choice in that way. But you never know. There is Trey Lance, great talent, great set of a very particular set of skills. Hey yo, but just again maybe not quite able to reach that potential in San Francisco. But it's like, hey, finally there was a moment where, I don't know, like Shanahan at the airport getting ready to leave for a job, and I guess would it be the other way around? Mac Jones getting ready to leave the league. Hey yo, he's at the airport. Shanahan's like, no, actually, this is the time. Now we need you as our starting quarterback. Maybe maybe that's the plot, Chad. Hey yo, Tubi, hit us up. We've got a Shanahan, Mac Jones, NFL front office rom-com. I don't know. Hey yo, we'll figure out the dynamics. It's like a draft day front office type story where it's about the mechanics of the moves. Hey yo, but it's kind of plotted like a rom-com with those kind of plot points. So hey yo, shout out to this artist. He's got a little I guess maybe Milwaukee's got like a military appreciation thing going on, because they got the I guess the military, they're on the court right now, but they also have this guy's like drawing a pretty cool little eagle. So I mean, anytime these guys are doing like the big canvas, like really like splattering the paint up there, and then all of a sudden it works out where they're painting the canvas, but also whatever sort of clothes they got on as well too, they get the paint. So he's cool. I mean, he's painting in a full suit. Hey yo, so I mean, I don't know if if the suit style there is like something that you could wear outside of that setting, but the sort of paint splatter suit it's a cool look. Again, I guess a classy artist look as well too. Shout out. But yeah, those will always get you when you're watching them on on the reels and stuff. Those are always a stop and stop and watch those. So fun to see that at halftime. I'm trying to. I would say that's a pretty good, a pretty good A plus I don't want to say A, B tier, but it's a pretty good, I think, halftime entertainment. Regular season halftime entertainment, just a good artist. I think the next level is obviously when you paint the whole thing and then when they flip it over and it's like, oh wow, they painted that whole thing upside down, and then all of a sudden you realize what it is. There's like a couple extra twists that you can, of course, a couple plot twists you can throw into your vision there, I guess, and really the wow moment at the end. But this is I guess being put together pretty nicely, so shout out. I guess they had the name on the screen there, so I don't know, but any type of I feel like I don't shout out. Dogs are obviously great, and I'm not going to sit here and say that like a halftime entertainment anytime there's like a puppy or something on the court, it's not fun, but that does seem to be more, maybe that's more just like timeout entertainment. I don't know if you start running those out there for timeouts, but again, if you got like the dog doing tricks, that is a little bit of, I think that's a little bit of a bummer for a halftime. I think there are some cool tricks, and you start getting into the shows and stuff as well too, like there's medals, then that stuff gets cool. But just like the guy, it's like, okay, is this like some guy from his back, like you can just go see this in some guy's backyard. So I guess in some ways you could, if you have a really artistic friend, but it does seem a little bit more rare than that. But again, I don't want to say that it's a bad halftime entertainment, because at the end of the day, you just love seeing a dog. So shout out. It's like, okay, I don't know if I would have drafted this number one, but I'm not bummed out. If it's a cute puppy, it's running around, it's a fun time. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the baby races are going to be like a C tier halftime entertainment, but those are a little bit like, okay, that's maybe for a different type of crowd as well too. I don't know, the non-basketball crowd, that's like maybe they lock in during the halftime baby races. I'm not sure, but again, it's never, what are you going to sit here and say that you're bummed out? Like, get these babies off the court. Hey, it's halftime. It is what it is. Would you rather see a baby race or like an AAU basketball game? I'm trying to remember. We were tuning in. I think was it Peacock? I don't want to put Peacock on blast. I want to say, well, it had to have been League Pass. But we tuned into a game. I thought the start time was, a half an hour earlier from what the actual start time was. So I, threw on that game broadcast a half an hour early, and it was the first game of the night as well too. So I guess this is why we ended up watching the pregame part of it, because there was just no other game to throw it on as well too. But it was just like, oh wait, why are they running? It's like, why are they running like an AAU basketball game? And then they put the timer up there, and it was like counting down from like 30 minutes. It's like 28 minutes left. I was like, oh no, we got to watch this for 28 minutes. And I guess, I'm not going to say what game this was, so we won't put anybody on blast, but, it wasn't like, this was, whatever, like, Sierra Canyon. It's not like they were running those teams out there. Hey, Monteverde. It's not like this was Monteverde versus Sierra Canyon at halftime, or whatever, the I guess junior AAU versions of those schools are as well too. I would assume that, but I guess, like the Sierra Canyon, I guess I don't know how like the Sierra Canyon have a middle school that it's like, Nike is now getting, what level does it go to? I don't even know at this point. But because, the highlights and stuff, you start tracking, I mean, we tread lightly, but there was that tweet when Paige Beckers was getting drafted of that guy where it was like, what grade are you watching here for this basketball? And he's like, this is like the next Diana Taurasi. So, the scouts are, again, but the sneakers alone, it's like the shoes alone are enough money to like, I gotta, make sure we're investing in the basketball talent. So, again, it's like, it's definitely a little bit, you're definitely raising an eyebrow sometimes, but also, it's just like, I guess these guys just want shoes at the end of the day. But I guess, that entire thing could, we could, start really, the whole thing is, I guess, it's tread lightly, we're not trying to be even, creative writers over here, but, I don't even, where are we going with this, Chet? The fact that we had to watch that basketball game, it is what it is. But yeah, shout out. So shout out to the artist, Halftime Entertainment. Shout out Darvin Ham, assistant coach, given the halftime interview. Is he campaigning for head coaching again? Milwaukee kind of, you know, playing well as a team as well too, which is the benefit of for we should say the narratives. I guess did we mention that we have I guess we did mention the halftime. Did we mention that we should have mentioned that it was Milwaukee versus Houston? If we haven't mentioned that the NBA game on right now, live during the late window of the NFL action is Milwaukee Houston. So it is actually probably a better game than we're getting right now though. Because yeah, Cardinals are up 21-0, or the Cardinals are losing. Hey yo, rephrase. Sorry, Cardinals fan. There's a Cardinals fan not watching, and they're just like, wait a second, what happened? It's like, no, actually, you're losing 21-0. But Rams Niners, like we said, that could be close. So we'll give them the respect. And you know, the Commanders. Should we pivot to the Commanders real quick? I guess. Hey yo, we're bouncing around. Sorry to the Milwaukee fans as well too. We'll get back to Milwaukee. It is, I guess, Week 10 of the NFL. But I guess it is also 7-3, so maybe we should say this while the Commanders are close, and this is the only time it'll apply. Who knows? But and we still love Jaden Daniels as a player. You know, we have all the stock in the world. You know, the positiveness of the RG3 comps. I know there's definitely the negative RG3 comps. It is a little bit like that, and I guess this is the second time now that this has happened to the Washington franchise, because there was the similarities there with Theismann and Alex Smith. It went down to like they were kind of the same age when they got hurt as well too. Because I don't even remember if we can look up the. Let's see if we can find it here real quick. Like and I guess I'm not even gonna Google the Alex Smith, Joe Theismann injuries. Hey yo, like well, let's just take our word for it. If you want to do your own research and go back and look at the similarities. I remember them being posted about back in the day. I'm not going to be able to memorize what they all were, but there was a lot of, same sort of circumstances with this Jaden Daniels RG3, where it's like same like week, minute of like literally the same exact time of the season and the same yard line versus the same opponent. And like, was it like number 56 that tackled them for the Giants is like the same person? I don't even, it was like similar stuff like that. And, you get Jaden Daniels with the fact that he was drafted, because I think Theismann was a Washington draftee. Obviously, Alex Smith, a couple of different franchises there and a different part of his career. I think Theismann was. We can look up Joe Theismann's stats. Hey yo, shout out, the legend Joe Theismann, because he was. I don't know if he was, had like his entire career in front of him at this point. Again, if he was sort of the same age as Alex Smith at that point, but I'm not saying that he was at the end of his career. It's not like let's just send him to the Clippers at this point, but let's see here. His last season, if we can fight off the lag here of the computer, it is what it is. 6-5 that last year, so he was cooking a little bit. You see the touchdown to interception ratio did take a little bit of a flip. So in the 11 games he did play in 85, 8 touchdowns to 16 picks, and I know that that's not always perfect for I don't even know what year we have to go to where it's like, when did interceptions and touchdowns? Maybe like Fouts. I know Moreno at, 84, 85, you have Moreno as well too. So, he's definitely competing with these guys in modern stats. And obviously Elway, those guys are in the same class, but Moreno was, putting up those regular season stats, and he, was he the MVP his second year in 85? I think he would have been, or he had that, 49 touchdown year, whatever it was. But Theismann, of course, was still a little bit old school in the touchdown to interception ratio there. But you see throughout his career, again, like 70s, 8 to 10, 7 to 9, 13 to 18, 20 to 13, 17 to 16. So I guess his career, easy to look at as well too. 160 to 138. So, almost, a little bit more touchdowns there positively. Shout out. And again, he's a good quarterback as well too. We're not sitting here trying to discredit Theismann's career. I'm just saying that particular, part of the statistics obviously has shaped out a Leo. We look at that, maybe give him a little bit more leeway with the way that some of the offenses were back in the day. And he was at 1,700 yards. So let's see here, yards per game here. I guess you see even his like highest yardage total as well too was like 3,500 yards. So 161 per game. So again, the team was still above 500, still doing okay, but from where it had been, it was definitely starting to go in a different direction. But the MVP a couple of years ago, 14-2, having that run at the end of his career as well. So definitely, of course, shout out Joe Theismann, and of course, shout out Jaden Daniels as well too. But let's see here, Jaden Daniels, RG3. Let's see if we can get some comparisons here. RG3 fans call out Dan Quinn. Yeah, that was something that was definitely happening as well too. But that stuff is always it's always tough to manage. The players wanting to play, the coaches wanting to play the players as well too. And you're never thinking, even if you're thinking about an injury as well, you're never thinking he's going to dislocate his elbow and it's going to bend backwards and it's going to be one of the three worst injuries of the season. Like, it's just, again, you're like, okay, if he goes out there, he's going to get, and again, we've had a whole movie about this. But you're like, is he going to get concussed or something like that? Again, just sort of and there is a visual, aspect now to especially with the knowledge of concussion, there is a visual aspect to that, you get a good hit on a guy, and it is like, oh man, you think about what the impact of that is as well too. But again, you don't think it's gonna be like this, like just absolute gruesome type of thing. We had this in the NBA, and unfortunately now I think we do have a little bit more knowledge after this season, with the way the guys were getting hurt in the playoffs. But again, you're like, Tatum's having the strained hamstring or whatever, and we did, I guess, watching the Rockets versus the Bucks, the Durant injury in the finals against the Raptors when he was on the Warriors is another injury that is similar to the Tatum and Halliburton injuries. And, if there had been another superstar that year, I guess, that had it, then maybe we would have learned already. But again, it's like, okay, now we kind of know the correlation of the hamstring to the Achilles, and maybe we have, like we're saying, a little bit more information where if guys have that strained hamstring going forward, we know the importance of, okay, bigger picture, maybe we want to take it easy, even if, pause, even if you want to, even if you can compete as well too. And maybe you aren't going to just, plant in the wrong way and, totally blow your Achilles out and just be out for the next, even if you're Tatum, he's still, regardless, I guess even if he does play this year, and we'll see what the Celtics record is. But in theory, if he's able to be back in like 9 months, again, you see how detrimental it could be to the team. And there still is, even if it's a new timeline for Achilles recovery, and now there's, again, if it's just a whole bunch of more knowledge out of this injury, it's still a pretty significant injury to try to recover from, and still, like we're saying, it's still a lengthy timeline, pause, in terms of that bouncing back. But again, I'm not saying that the Jaden Daniels like, okay, your quarterback's hurt, now he's gonna dislocate his elbow every time, or whatever, again, whatever the sort of thing for the injury is. But again, maybe like I'm saying, you're never thinking obviously of just the absolute sort of worst case scenario where it's like, okay, if we play Tatum in this playoff game, not only are we gonna lose him maybe for oh, now he's out for was that game 6 or 5 or 7? Game 5 or 6 where he got hurt. You're like, oh no, we lose him for the rest of the series, and now we're out. And then that's still, Boston just losing. I guess, we're focusing on Boston here, but again, to just kind of like talk out storylines of playing the players, like, that's still a pretty tough season if they're the defending champs and then lose in the second round to the Knicks and leave the season fully healthy. And you're like, okay, you're not necessarily having Tatum Brown conversations. I don't think about the trades, maybe because of the contracts, you're still giving it time, but there is like we don't have the unlimited spending maybe the way we did in the past. But, again, there is sort of that franticness of if we lose him for this series and lose the series because of that, it's not good. You're not necessarily, again, thinking we're going to lose Tatum for the next 9 to 12 months, and all of a sudden the franchise is going to have to go in this completely different direction, and now these players that we thought, this core of the team is no longer going to be there. How do we reshape it? How are we shaping it around these guys? Blah, blah, blah. Again, you just all of a sudden are in this whole new timeline. And that is, I'm not saying, I guess, the Commanders have the benefit of, their roster is a little bit more right now outside of Jaden Daniels. It is a little bit of an older roster, so it's not like, and I guess the Celtics are as well too. So it's not like, oh, we're necessarily wasting a year of these guys' primes as well, too. I guess, again, shout out Jaden Daniels. Hopefully he's able to get back as soon as possible. I guess point being, I don't know, like, if we can just sit here and just, like, overly criticize Dan Quinn for playing the players and, for like, what the extent of the, again, it is, at the end of the day, injury, it's bad, regardless, I guess, of what happens. But I don't know if we can necessarily sit here and blame Dan Quinn. Sometimes just, again, there's just unfortunate things in football that happen, and guys get hurt, and it's just unlucky, and it's like, okay, it's not our year to be lucky. And you can't necessarily, again, go into a season and say, is this our year to be lucky? But sometimes it happens as well, too, where, again, you get those breaks. I know that, hey, we don't want to necessarily put the jinx on our guy Sam's team, but, they have, for the most part, been able to keep a lot of, Jane Daniels is not just an injury for Washington. Again, it's the quarterback, it's the young star, it's all that different stuff. Again, we're not going to, I guess maybe we don't complete the sentence, but I think you get what we're saying with Kansas City there, where you look at the starting lineups that they've had in a lot of their playoff games, you're like, okay, a lot of the foundational pieces are still there. That is a little thing dinged up, calls, I don't know, however you want to say it. Just the fact that, I guess it is. Because we say it, does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. But it's like, we like Mahomes as well too, so we can't bring ourselves to say it, Chad. But it's like, just because Mahomes had this that's just a little thing that, again, it's like a random thing, but it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. So again, it is what it is. But I guess the point I was gonna make. So I guess, again, shout out. We love Jane Daniels, and I guess we didn't actually find the RG3 comparisons as well too. RG3, it's not fair to Jane Daniels to use me as a comparison. Hey, is RG3 going to say he was better? I don't know. I mean, I would love the confidence still from RG3. And if you were looking at, peak pause, the best version of RG3 or maybe what he could have been, it's still an argument. I would still say that obviously, hot take, healthy RG3 would have been a good quarterback. Again, I know it's not like he necessarily also got hurt, I think, at the peak of his powers. But I think that just in general, maybe some stuff started to change there as well, too. That if the injuries had been a little bit different, who knows, just in general how this stuff plays out. But regardless, I guess for this season, the point that I was going to make, hey, Chad, long walk. Okay, we're back. But I don't know if they've been necessarily way worse with Mariota. I know it's a weird pivot from where we were at. The point was, I guess, more, how much can we blame Dan Quinn? And again, obviously you can still say for this season and the long-term stuff, there can be a balance there. But I guess we could look up their stats as well too. And I know that it could be a little bit based on who they've played as well. I know like the Atlanta game, I think that might've been the first game when Daniels got hurt, maybe the first full game with Mariota, I'm not sure. But, the Atlanta game, they're really good. And again, they're 3-6 this year, so it's not like they've been great, all the way around. You could say, again, the injuries and just all the stuff in general is definitely helped, with that result. And not necessarily being the best team. But, so I guess you could say, they were 2-1 with Jane Daniels. It is a fair argument, but you do have the Raiders and Giants in here. And, we were still kind of like, he's kind of feisty in this Packers game, even if he's not necessarily playing the best version of football that he's played. I think that was his worst statistical game of his career. There's only 179 passing yards here on the stat sheet. So I guess, 147 versus Atlanta, that would have been Mariota, right? And I guess they lost that game as well, too. But they were at least scoring in that game, 27. I think Atlanta, they it was close throughout. They got the Chargers the next week. The Bears, so yeah, I mean, they lost to the Bears by 1 and then got destroyed by the Cowboys. Was Mariota in this game or was it Daniels? And then the Chiefs game last week as well. This may have been Daniels. See, it's like, a little bit of opponents. You got the Cowboys offense in there and then the Chiefs just being a better team. Yeah, it was Daniels. So 12 for 22. 156 and a touchdown. And again, that goes to the injury stuff. Maybe he just shouldn't have been playing this entire time, going to what Commanders fans are, of course, being mad at. But again, I think that they can still lose some of these games with Mariota, obviously. And I think that just, the competitiveness of the team with him out there has been decently okay as well too. I think, do they have Merritt right now on the injury list? Okay, a tooth injury. I guess he's full participation. Hey, chat. I guess, don't ask any questions. But, Detroit this week, but Miami, then the bye week. Denver, Minnesota, New York, Philly, Dallas, Phillies. So, not necessarily that they're going to be competing for a playoff team. But they do have some feisty matchups in there. I guess Minnesota, they lost today against Baltimore. So what's their record sitting at right now? 4-5. I don't know if we need to do a quick standings update here after week 10. Hey, but if all the good teams are in the NFC West, then how does that affect the playoff picture here? Let's take a quick look. Hey, is this even going to be a good article? Okay, so this is by division winners here, I think. Just playoff percent chance. I guess winning a division definitely is going to help with that. Baltimore is at a 51% chance right now. Hey, I mean, we can definitely, mention them as well, too. Like we were saying with Minnesota losing that one. That's who they were playing. We've got Philly, Tampa, San Francisco, LA, Seattle at 84% chance to make the playoffs. 28% chance to win the division? Wait, so what's their divisional record right now at this point? I guess they're 2-2 at home. Okay, we might have to look into that. Are those 2 losses, 2 divisional opponents? I'm not remembering off the top, but that would be, a big reason, I guess, as to why that might be a little bit down as well, too, in the stats, because, they're definitely trending in the right direction as of right now. And I know that, the Bill Simmons pod, shout out, they've definitely been tracking them in the odds as an undervalued team. But, even in I guess the odds would probably reflect some of the advanced metrics. So I guess maybe not a little surprising to see them being a little bit lower than you expect in that. But Packers, 81%, Lions, 71%, Chicago, Carolina, then, drops off after that. So, Minnesota, I guess, looking at some of those teams that they could have played, like Minnesota is going to have an outside chance looking in. I guess Philly is, going to be kind of locked. So they might be kind of just, maybe they do go into, I don't want to say like irrelevant team status, but again, like where's there going to be their effect of the season? Even if they would have to beat Philly twice and then Philly loses a couple more games and it's like, okay, their season really, again, that would be more Philly. Like all of a sudden their season just has completely spiraled out of control, and who knows why, that would have happened, I guess, at this point. And, Detroit versus this week might have been their one opportunity with kind of that, not new look again. We've seen Mariota this year, but with him getting another chance at being the starter again, that sort of, I don't know if you get that sort of backup quarterback effect once again in the season. But yeah, do they just go into kind of resting some of their other guys modes? I don't even know where they've been in a fantasy standpoint as well too, with some of the guys like Debo and I guess shout out Eckler. Unfortunately, he got hurt as well too earlier in the year. That is tough. McLaurin with 4 games played. Yeah, McLaurin out as well. So and then for next year as well too, just that recovery from injury, it definitely is going to be like, okay, all these guys are back. Like, let's not forget about the fact that maybe when they're all playing together, how good could they be? But they've all been hurt, randomly throughout different points of the year here, all kind of bigger injuries as well too. So maybe they are a little bit of a one year team in terms of that rebound as well too, and just getting fully healthy and getting back in the mix. I guess we could look into some of their contract stuff as well. But Treylon Burks is on this team. He played a game for this team, chat. Oh man, I don't know if that's a good sign or not. Probably not. But Debo, 8 games played. Not too bad as well too. Probably been healthier this year, honestly, than we would have expected. But shout out. We still love Deebo Samuel here as well too. But again, point being, they were already, I guess, they were already in the tank this year as well with Jaden Daniels. So, they can keep trending that way with RG3 or with who's their quarterback, Mariota. Maybe bring RG3 back. I don't know. Does he still want to play? If it gets to the point where again those last couple of weeks are just going to mean nothing, why not play Mariota? And I guess they do go into that tier of team that is going to have a good draft pick and already has the quarterback, that does mean, of course, again, you probably had a bad season, but not the worst place to be in for a team as well, too. They're number 8 in the draft right now. But is Miami going to go on a winning streak? Hey, I don't know if Miami is all of a sudden starting to trend in the right direction. Jaden Phillips Ewing theory? I don't know. New York and Cleveland played each other, so I guess they could have tied. Shout out there. New York, Tennessee, New Orleans are all definitely going to stay there. So, I mean, Cincinnati at 3-6, and then you've got Atlanta, who did end up losing to the Colts today. But you see the feistiness there. It does feel like there's, I don't know, again, everybody healthy if Washington and Atlanta, if Atlanta's better than Washington. But right now, they are, seeming to be going in a little bit of a, again, even losing 4, just with the way the defensive line is playing as well, too. I know that, they've got some other quarterback stuff maybe to figure out there as well. But, yeah, the top 10 pick will be nice for him as well. You'll have Burrow. I guess the LSU QBs in the top 10, chat. Hey, LSU overrated. I guess bulletin board material for both these guys. But look at that. And I guess they're both injured as well, too. So I guess, are they overrated or are they just, not playing? What's fair for criticism there? But, yeah, either way. I guess is there another LSU quarterback in the league that we're not thinking of at this point? I'm sure, it is getting that QBU. I guess if Nussmeier had, continued sort of his trend of being a first-round type of guy, or with the way it was being projected earlier in the year, then it would have been, there could have been 3 guys there, but I don't know if there is a third in the league. But obviously, a lot of other great LSU players as well, too. But I guess then you got Dart in New York, and then Tennessee, of course, with Cam Ward. I don't know if they're going to be taken. Again, maybe this year is just a good year. It's like Tennessee back-to-back years with there's just no quarterback in the draft is, kind of unfortunate. I don't know if you just keep taking guys. Maybe you just have to take Mendoza. I feel like you might have to, honestly. I don't know if we're going to, break off in a draft corner here. Jordan Tyson. Okay, and Ty Simpson has jumped up in the Tankathon rankings. That is good to see. I think Ty Simpson could go number 1. We have to watch a little bit more Mendoza. And to be honest, Dante Moore had a couple of good moments in this game that were really, kind of put us back in the NFL mindset for him as well, too. And you do have, Caleb Downs and Ruben Bain are just, there's always those defensive guys that are just like, are they too good? Do you just have to take them? And it is what it is. But, in terms of turning around a franchise, shout out, Downs and Bain are great players. I do think, could Downs be a little bit more of a franchise impact guy than Bain? I don't know. Like has Kyle Hamilton necessarily brought that Ravens defense up to being like a top 10 defense in the league? It still struggles even if he is individually, having great seasons over there. But yeah, I guess for Washington, if we do have the quarterback jump as well too, as you would expect, I guess every year, it is what it is. But I don't know, Shuck today did what's his name, chat? Shuck. Did he kind of have a decent stats day? I guess whatever you want to say about Carolina. But regardless, Washington will be in a decent spot. Averill Reese, though, number 8, a linebacker, would be an interesting move for the Commanders. I mean, shout out. We do love a guy that, is able to lock down the middle of the defense there. Keldrick Folk. You could go tackle. Peter Woods from Clemson. Jeremiah Love, TJ Parker. Cardinal Tate, Sellers, Lemon, Uyungale? Do you take Uyungale the edge? I don't know. It is. Maybe you try to trade up. It is a little weird. I think, if they were able to lose a couple more games, maybe you do have to go into tank mode at this point and try to see if you can get Downs or Bain. Because, if you had Daniels and Caleb Downs just as an offensive defensive combo, that'd be pretty crazy. Or again, Daniels and Bain as well too would be great building blocks going forward. So they'll be, from a drafting standpoint, a fun team to watch and see how they are able to play out for the picks. But yeah, it seems like Detroit is, early in the game, it's like, again, just kind of what the first couple of drives, it's like, is it going to be just a close kind of feisty game? But, Detroit is going to, pause, slow grind. They're going to keep the long drives going. And they're going to slowly get this lead because I don't know if the Commanders are going to be able to move the ball as well, too. So it's 14-3 there in that game. And the Rams are up 21-0 on the Niners. So yeah, it might be a little bit of a NBA focus here, chat. Hey yo, it is what it is. 35-0 for Seattle over the Cardinals. Hey yo. And I don't know, maybe the takeaway is honestly that these NFC top tier teams, maybe they look a little bit scarier than these AFC top tier teams. And I know, Buffalo with that win over Kansas City, that is just a classic sort of trap game. Like, do we have to immediately look at who Seattle is playing next week and just be like, okay, I guess, the Cardinals isn't the game that you have to be like, we're like really hyped up for that game, and then you get sort of the crash after that. But still, just the good performance, and then maybe you go into cruise control a little bit. I don't know if that is a potential, but we're at that point in the regular season where these records are obviously week 10 starting to pile up a little bit. And if they move to 7-2, it's like, okay, we could see them as like a what's the win, 13-4 type of team this year. Obviously, the competitiveness for the 1 seed, and I guess we could see how that playoff predictor starts to bounce around a little bit after this as well too. So yeah, they did lose to San Francisco. So the fact that San Francisco is going to lose today, is going to help them as well too. So again, that's a divisional loss, just a little inconvenient. In Tampa is a conference loss, not necessarily going to affect, direct tiebreaker Rams or Cardinals, but maybe that could be a little bit of a factor as well too. And the Rams next week, ooh. So that's like a college football, like top 10 type of, we had the Texas Tech versus BYU. We're starting to get into like, are these like playoff eliminator type games? This is not going to be a playoff eliminator, but 1 seed divisional type eliminator. And then after that, they go Tennessee, Atlanta, Indy, the Rams, Panthers, Niners again. So not, a couple of tough games in there, but they do have, again, Titans, Vikings, Atlanta, and Carolina, and then maybe even San Francisco week 18 is in a bit of a tough spot that week as well too, where they're just not playing any guys. So definitely still, again, a ton of winnable games where they're not going to be fighting week to week on the schedule here, but I guess we'll just have to continue to see how Minnesota looks as well too by the time we get to week 13, couple more weeks. At this point, another month for McCarthy, and we'll see. But yeah, so that at Rams with them up 21-0. But we need Darnold to settle down here as well too, because that these quarterbacks, of course, are going to get the first looks for the MVP and the awards. And our guy Taylor's performance is just going to immediately get wiped off the board by this 35-0 first half domination of the Seahawks. And there's 7 minutes left in the second quarter. I mean, hey, yo, this is wild. I mean, are they going to put up, 80 points? They might. We can't necessarily say that they're going to want to, stop playing well in this game. They could just be really trying to prove it to everybody. I guess, hey, yo, Arizona finally going to score. But maybe they do kind of, just chill a little bit. Maybe this ends up being like a 45 to 17 type of game. And it's like, okay, not pacing to be the historic blowout, I guess, that we thought. But, again, in terms of where Sam Darnold is at for the MVP stuff, and are the Chiefs, let's double check our bye week teams this week. We've got Bengals, Cowboys, Titans, Chiefs, and Jordan Love and who's the quarterback for the Eagles over there? Hey, yo, shout out Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. I guess if we're going, I don't know if Jordan Love's in the MVP conversation right now, but and I don't really think Hurts is as well. So you do have Josh Allen losing today. Drake May did get the win. Taylor did get the win. After the Taylor touchdown, I did have to pull up the FanDuel odds and look at the MVP, so we could double check here again. That would have been before that Mayfield versus Drake May game, which I guess, speaking of eliminator games, I didn't think of that necessarily as an MVP eliminator game, but hey, yo, week 10 of 2025, I guess for this season, it is what it is. Those guys are the 2 and 3 odds leaders after that Berlin game there in the performance that Taylor had. And then Darnold would have been the 5th guy there because Taylor would have been the 4th. And Darnold, I think, was at 12-1. It was like, okay, they haven't played yet, we'll see. Is like Sam Darnold, does he have sort of the legacy credibility over Taylor at this point? I don't necessarily know, but again, it's just a quarterback. He's lighting up the league right now, 8 for 9, 162 and a touchdown to start this game. And I think May was leading going into the week in passer rating, but he is a little bit lower in like some of the per game stats. So Darnold would have him there in the per game stats. Hey, Daniel Jones actually has all these guys in the per game stats. Shout out. Okay, May is 5th in passing yards, shout out. We do have to give him his respect there. I guess let's look at the per game leaderboards. It may be a little lower. If our leader is 268 yards per game, Purdy in 2 games played, 293. Stafford in 8 games played is at 268 yards a game. Yeah, Daniel Jones at 267. So it is a smidge lower than maybe it is in the past. And I guess if you sort it per game as well too, he does go to 5th, because I guess he goes from 5th to 11th, and really we should say 10th as well too, because with all due respect to Purdy, I guess from a per game standpoint he could definitely be putting up those numbers as well too. And 1-1 they could be 500. So maybe we keep Purdy in the mix as well too, and just say that this could have been his season. Would have been no surprise there, and he would have been kind of, I guess, the crazy stats guy as well too, at nearly 200, over 290 yards a game. But you have Mac Jones in 7 games played, trying to catch up there, and then Darnold, Love, and Flacco all with 8 games played, just a little bit more in the per game metric, whereas again Drake May's at 9 right now. But his completion percentage is off the charts at 74%. Darnold, though, does cross the 70% threshold mark, and you do see that again, yards and the touchdowns per game. He is over Drake May in both of those. I guess Drake May barely in the success ratings, but you see like yards per attempt, Darnold a little bit more aggressive as well too. So Darnold leads in QBR. Okay, so that's kind of great. That's kind of cool. Darnold in QBR, and then May first in rating. And I guess in rating as well too. I was just looking at Drake May's page earlier and then saw that they had that bolded out there, so that's how I knew that he led the league. I didn't, Darnold right behind him there, not even a full rating point behind him as well too. And then you got Goff at 115 and Hurts at 114. So we'll let the last month and a half or so of the season play out, and Hurts will, if they continue to win these games, his name will just have to be there at some point. But Darnold might actually get in the mix. And again, the team jump thing I think is important. And, unfortunately, Jalen Hurts is not going to get. And then, I'm about to give Darnold credit for moving systems. So I think we have to give Hurts credit for this as well, too, because they just change over the coordinators and coaches every year, and are, just new types of boring offenses. But, Darnold actually showing that he was a good quarterback in Minnesota, and then being able to produce to an equal, if not even better level. And, Jay has said as well, too, we got to give him his credit. Like, he's literally just, throwing it to JSN every time. But for Darnold, again, as the quarterback, producing those numbers in a different team, different setup, different environment, and, having a little bit of that pedigree of the high drafting type stuff. Not to say that, those early seasons have been erased, but there is a little bit of, I don't know if we necessarily look at him as, and, I guess we have to go back and watch some of the tape. I don't know. But there isn't that, obviously, Sam Darnold is bad, in the way that we, I guess respectfully, thought that, looking back, maybe the way we would have categorized him before, it is a little bit, obviously, maybe more indicting on the teams and the systems that he was in. Because when he got into good ones, like, okay, San Francisco, he probably could have played well there. He played well in Minnesota, and now he's playing well in Seattle. But May, just that second year guy. And again, it's not to say that he hasn't had a incredible efficiency stats and like really historic efficiency stats. They were showing a breakdown in the Patriots-Bucks game at one point of guys that had, I think it was 70% completion percentage. Then it must have been nine touchdowns, I think. How many touchdowns is Drake May at right now? I don't know why I'm throwing that number out specifically. Oh, here, I guess I got it. On the per game stats for the year, he is at 17 touchdowns. So it wasn't 9 touchdowns, it was 9 something. It would have been just 9 games played. So was there a touchdown stat there, or something. There was a second stat with the 70% completion percentage. Oh, yards per attempt. That's what it would have been. Hey, yo. So I guess Darnold is right there as well, too. And maybe they upped the completion percentage just a little bit to exclude Darnold, but then Goff, he wouldn't be at the 9 yards at attempt, even though he's at 73.8% completion percentage. So I guess regardless, if we could go back to that exact point in the broadcast and look up that graphic again, maybe we should. But it was basically Drake May this year, Aaron Rodgers, one of his MVP years, Tom Brady in 2007, and then maybe like some Joe Montana year, but some 80s quarterback that, some 80s quarterback. It's like Montana Moreno or something that had, again, a crazy efficient season like that as well, too. It's like all those guys won the MVP, so Drake May, statistically, I guess he's on pace to win the MVP at this point. But again, if we're comparing it to maybe like a Mahomes type of start to the career, I guess the first season's obviously played out a little bit differently, not to say that Mahomes wouldn't have had similar sort of success if he would have been in and out of the starting lineup as a rookie, but again, he was throwing for 5,000 yards that first year as well, too. So he was just from a box score standpoint, even a little bit more elevated than everybody else in the league and also everybody else in NFL history as well, too. So I don't know if Drake May has quite had that type of performance to where, again, it's just undeniable that a year 2 quarterback can win the MVP. I think it's pretty undeniable right now that, again, he's playing at an MVP level. He is clearly going to be, if he plays like this, I guess with the way that all these guys just, raise our hopes and then obviously just destroy him this next year, he's probably going to be in line for that next year. Just immediately bet all the Drake May unders, I guess, with the way that the cycles has gone. But maybe, like we're saying, this is his sophomore year, but it's his first full year with that like really good production as well too, like maybe the way Stroud's rookie season and Jay Daniels' rookie seasons were. So I don't know if it gets the comparison there, but regardless, again, if we're just giving the guys that have been in the league a little bit longer, a little bit more benefit of the doubt in terms of working their way up to that MVP spot, I don't know if Drake May has kind of leaped over those guys in the way that Mahomes did immediately, in his first year or whatever. But would that have been no? Because I think it was his second year. Because Rodgers was winning an MVP or two in there as well. So it's not like, again, obviously, Mahomes every year has won the MVP. And then Lamar was 2019. So again, Mahomes hasn't been obviously like a every year MVP, even though he's gotten his fair share. And again, he's on bye this week, so some of these good performances aren't going to help. We'll have to see how he continues to add to that storyline, and if they are able to continue to put the win streaks together. But maybe he gets one this year as well too. So the only thing that, again, that Darnold, I guess like we're saying, the year 2 thing for Drake May, but it's not like Darnold has a ton of years under his belt as well too, outside of just being in the league. He does only have really the one other good year of production. But that's why I think it's a window for Taylor as well too, because again, typically if we're saying, a quarterback is going to win the award, yes, maybe at the end of the day, it's just kind of blankly whoever that top quarterback is, but we don't have that legacy guy at the top of the leaderboard right now that is kind of definitely standing out. Because again, shout out, Josh Allen is still obviously, capable. Like Lamar is, you see him starting to get the Ravens back into the mix as well. So those guys are still, again, who they are, but they are also competing against themselves as well too in terms of the MVP metric, and then they are also, again, maybe from a stats point, a little bit backwards from where they have been in the past. So the fact that we have some of these newer names at the quarterback spot at the top of this, again, narrative leaderboard maybe means that it is a little bit more likely that one of the other quarterbacks or one of the other positions with it as well too. Pause, because we have to look at Taylor's stats here, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make as I try to get logged into the stat head here. Hey, I think we've finally made it, because total from scrimmage today, I think he was at like 244 rush yards and then 3 touchdowns and another 40 rushing yards, or what would have been 40 receiving yards on top of that. And I don't know if he had a receiving touchdown in the game as well too. I don't even think they would have scored enough to have had that happen, but he's going to single-handedly win me the fantasy game almost him, I guess him alone is not going to outscore this team. Hey, yo, we got to put some respect on this other team's name. But in our league, I mean, he went absolutely crazy. He was at 73 points. So he did get some good bonuses in our league as well too. He got a 40-yard rush touchdown bonus of 5 points, a 50-yard rush touchdown bonus of 6 points, and then a 200 rush yard bonus of 10 points. So that is hey yo, Rem can do math. Oh, and I guess we also have to verify we're human here. It is what it is. Okay, chat. We fooled them once again. But we got 11 points in just like kind of random bonuses. So I guess, maybe in some fantasy leagues, I don't know if he put up like a crisp 62, something along those lines. But again, you got 24 just in rushing yards alone, 21 in rushing touchdowns, and then 4 in receiving yards and 3 in receptions as well. So again, he's going to definitely carry us to victory this week. And makes me think that if Sauce Gardner was able to get us fantasy points, then we honestly wouldn't care how many first round picks we would have given up, because it is weeks like this that even if the Colts had kind of lost that game in overtime, it's like, well, Jonathan Taylor scored 73 points and I'm probably going to win in fantasy this week. Like, Sauce Gardner doesn't really have that. They kind of have to win the game, because even if Sauce Gardner, well, I guess not even if, if he's making awesome plays, it's like, okay, Sauce Gardner got three interceptions, but then, somebody fumbled every time and then gave up the offensive position on the other end. And it's like, okay, obviously, like, shout out, like, oh man, I can't believe we have this corner. But again, it kind of has to, and, for all these guys as well too, at some point, but he doesn't have the fantasy element to be like, in worst case scenario, I guess, yeah, the Colts defense could be a monster fantasy team. It's like, there's just Sauce Gardner is going to get a pick, but then again, you don't even throw at a corner if he's that good as well too. So it's not like Gardner can get you those fantasy points. Worst case, the only other thing he's going to do is just take out the other receiver. And then it's like, well, now all of a sudden, I was like, maybe this receiver was going to torch us, or we could still win this game, and this guy can give me good fantasy points, however I want to balance it out. It's like, now all of a sudden, I don't even have that option as well too. So, again, hey, yo, we love having a great corner, but people not a fan of the value. And I do got to say that, do we have to look back up and say that that's a 2027 first round pick? Because that 2027 draft is just a long ways away. And like we're saying, we like to be invested when our own team is drafting in the first round. And you still think that, yes, 2026 could go well, but then we also have to, well, I guess, so I have to do the math here to see how, okay, what is going to happen? So we gave up our first round pick in 2026, and then we'll play the 2026 season. Okay, and then it'll be the draft after that. Okay. So I was thinking maybe it was a 2 more seasons after this. I was like, oh, that's going to be a long time before we get another pick. But we only really have to play 1 full season before we draft again. Or I guess 2 full seasons before. But once we start playing that second season, we know we'll be playing for our draft pick in that 2028 draft, even if we trade that, but we'll be controlling our pick once we start that 2020 season going into that next draft. So we will have, again, 1 full season next year without control of the immediately next first round pick. I guess to just continue to, because again, people were like, man, I can't believe nobody likes this trade for the Colts. Like, Sauce Gardner is really that bad now? I don't know. But hey, yo, I guess we'll have to see. But it doesn't matter. We have Jonathan Taylor, who is maybe going to, I guess, probably should win Offensive Player of the Year, if anything, at this point. And that's not just a if anything, obviously. That is going to be, 2 times that he's won that award, maybe? So we could, potentially, skill guy look into the history of that as well, too. Hey, yo, Jonathan Taylor, over Derrick Henry. Oh, wait a second. We want Game Finder here, not Season Finder. I want to see 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hey, yo, because, we definitely had the 200-yard receiver games, but I'm trying to think if we've had, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson get up to the 280, and then, like McCaffrey or some of these other well-rounded guys, pause, hey, yo, Bijan with the dual threat, even, just some of Derrick Henry's top-end performances as well, too. I guess, what with Derrick Henry's, I don't necessarily know what his in-game rushing record is for the NFL at this point, or we might need to look up his for high school as well too, because I saw that just today he totaled his amount of rushing yards for the NFL that he did in high school. So, played 10 years in the NFL and probably more games per season, I would imagine as well. I think it was probably just regular season. I guess I don't know, if high school, if there's like some, the playoff type play, how that stuff gets included. But I don't think you're going to play, even now, like 17 games? Maybe you're going to get close. But, you're not going to be like, hey, 9 games, I would think, But even still, like if he's, 36 games, runs for 12,000 yards, be like, oh, man, makes a whole lot of sense there. But he ran for, 12,000 yards in 4 years of high school, and it took him a decade to complete that in the NFL. So, shout out to the NFL. It is obviously good to show that kind of, level of, competition does rise, I guess. He didn't just run for 12,000 yards in like 6 seasons in the NFL. But, I mean, that just shows you not how dominant he was, but just like, oh man, how painful it must have been to play against Derrick Henry. Like, him just absolutely destroying defenses. Like, how many times was he tackled in high school? There's no way he was tackled more than he had rushing attempts if he ran for 12,000 yards. I guess, if they also probably never threw the ball. If you have Derrick Henry in high school, are you going to throw a pass? Probably not. But he's just never, ever getting tackled. Like, that level of Madden-esque type play is legitimately might be the most dominant athlete at their level that we've ever seen. I don't know. Like, I guess, not even like Wemby at the level that he was playing at the amateur leagues. Like, they were definitely in championship competition and he was really, really good. But, he wasn't like, oh man, Victor Wembanyama scored 20,000 points in 5 years. Like, it wasn't any, or, I don't know what the correct comparison is there. Like, 10,000 points. I guess that'd be like 2,000 points a year, but maybe in the amateur levels, that's obviously a step up. But regardless, that is maybe amongst the most dominant we've ever had an athlete. We might have to go back to like, some of the OG Olympics, like way, way back. I don't know, some of those old marathon runners, ancient Greeks, even if we start going, some of those old like Central American sporting leagues, some of the life and death stakes, like maybe there's some athletes that really dominated in there. But outside of that, like, it's like, it's like you have to go the first marathon runner, and then Derrick Henry is like the most dominant athletes ever. Is essentially, the list at this point. But, Taylor today might have had a pretty, pretty impressive performance as well, too. I had rushing yards there, which is what I was thinking. But actually want, like, total scrimmage yards as well, too. Let's see. I might have scrolled past that. We're in the advanced stats now. Yeah, here. We need, scoring, touchdowns, fantasy, points. Okay, no, I don't know where it's going to be listed under here. It should be easy to find, chat. Hey, total rushing, because we could just do the individual 240 rush and then 40 receiving, and that would make it more specific as well too, which would probably help our guy Jonathan Taylor's case. But we do want to give somebody credit as well, too, if they had like a 250 rushing yard game and then 30 receiving yards. Like, okay, they're not going to qualify, but they're still right in the mix. Scoring, let's see here. Fantasy, points. Maybe we could look at that as well, too. Kick return yards. Did he have any kick return yards? Could he get to, did you put him in? Oh, here we go. Total yards. Yards from scrimmage. All-purpose yards. Yeah, yards from scrimmage, all-purpose yards. I don't even know what the difference is, but I guess, you include the kick return yards in there as well, too. But we'll go 280 yards from scrimmage and then 3 touchdowns as well, too. Oh, we missed it again. Where is it at? Total touchdowns. Oh, now we got to try to find total touchdowns, chat. Hey, there it is. Scoring. So 3 touchdowns, 280 yards. Another long walk, but we finally got there. 1 regular season game. I guess playoffs as well, too. That would even be more impressive to have that in the mix. And I don't think this is going to include any quarterbacks because, yards from scrimmage is still going to have to be receiving and rushing yards. I guess if a quarterback ran for 280 yards or 240 plus yards in a game, then it would be or I guess, whatever number it has to be to get included, then it would get included. But yeah, I think this will be the right way to filter it out to the skill guys if it ever does load. But also, you got to give Game Finder a second. I guess it does have to go through quite a few games. Pause. So yeah, the Cardinals were able to put up points there, 7-35. Ooh, we keep almost getting that score to the benefit of the Cardinals fans. Wrong there, but 22-10. Lions versus the Commanders. So yeah, unfortunately, without Daniels, we're never gonna be like, hey, the Commanders, they're in striking distance. But you wouldn't say at this point they're going away. But the Lions are driving. So if the Lions here, 3 minutes left, I guess they could make this 30-10. Hey yo, and start to put it away. Are we gonna get 3 30-point first halves potentially? I mean, the Rams at 21-7 is like not even that impressive at this point. They're up by 14. I guess. Lions up by 12. Ayo. So a race to have who can have the second most impressive first half here between the Rams and the Lions versus the Seahawks. But Stafford is going crazy as well. Stafford and Goff, speaking of, ayo, them always being compared, they are basically similar stats through this game here. Okay, we do have some results. I don't know if it was going to take that long because we didn't have some results. Pause. But, not that many. Only 10 times in NFL history has a guy ever had 280 scrimmage yards and 3 total touchdowns. So this is one of, like we're saying, a historic performance here for Jonathan Taylor. I guess shout out to Cloyce Box from 1950. Did not have any fantasy points back then, but maybe the most impressive game here. Had 302 yards and 4 touchdowns. So I don't know why we can't just retroactively calculate these fantasy points. Honestly, we probably just could as well too in our league. But the thing is, we don't know, did he have any 50-yard touchdown bonuses for this game? So there may be some fantasy points even left on the table. I don't even know who BCL is. Let's take a look here and see what this team is. Oh, the Baltimore Colts. Hey, yo, shout out. Didn't know they were labeled as BCL. I thought they've always been labeled as BAL. If it's the 50s and it's BAL, that's who Baltimore was. It was, the Baltimore Colts. So I don't know if they've changed that here on Football Reference. Hey, yo, I guess if we just go to the Baltimore Colts, we don't need to prove a point. Hey, yo, it is what it is, chat. It's the Baltimore Colts in that game. So they gave up too many yards to Cloyce Box. Shout out. Jonathan Taylor, not revenge for the Lions. But Jim Brown, of course, you would expect. 290 yards from scrimmage anyways. And 4 touchdowns. Billy Cannon, 330 and 5. Okay, 63 fantasy points. And they won their game 48-21. So that is actually the highest scoring game here as well. I guess because they're not going to have the bonuses and stuff in this one. So, Taylor's going to be, what are we? Well, I guess here, wait, let me recalculate real fast where we are at. 20, we got 45 plus, I guess, yeah, he'll be at like 52 fantasy points for this. So him and, shout out, him and Jim Brown, similar fantasy points levels there. Anyways, I think Jim Brown still got him in the legacy rankings, but we got Jerry Rice, 299 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh, man, just cooking in that one. Jimmy Smith, another receiver. So, wait, is Billy Cannon a receiver? And I guess we have to double check here. Jimmy Smith, a receiver as well, too. I think so. Though I couldn't necessarily give you a bio on the guy at this point. Oh, the Billy Cannon page doesn't exist. Oh, here we go. 2-time Pro Bowl, 2-time All-Pro, 3-time AFL champ. So the man was a definite winner, that's for sure. And yeah, 61, 948 rush yards, leading the league, chat. All, just all over the place that year. Could not be stopped. 2 championships with Houston. Shout out. I guess, some limited stats in those runs. Early 60s there. I guess beginning of his career. Ooh, 61. Not having the playoffs that he had for the regular season. Hey, yo. As the first team All-Pro. But they still won as well, too. Oh, I was going to say, I thought he was the guy with the nickname. But no, Billy White Shoes Johnson, I think, played for Houston. And, he was the guy with the nickname. Not Billy Cannon. Oh, there is a son, Billy Cannon. Maybe that's the name that sounds familiar. There is a Something about the name Billy Cannon that sounds familiar here. But shout out, he had a great game. And then, hey, yo, where's our guy Jimmy Smith at? As well here, we have him. Yeah, 5-time Pro Bowler. Shout out, 1-time Super Bowl champ. So, early 2000s there, kind of mid 90s, playing for 1 year drafted by Dallas, but spent most of his career with Jacksonville. So had 116 receptions, led the league, 1,600 yards, 6 touchdowns in 1999. Y2K, back-to-back second-team All-Pro. So, in the mix there as one of the best receivers in the league. And then comeback player of the year as well, too. Is that right? Second in comeback player of the year voting, even though he played 14 games the year before, had 91 catches and 1,200 yards. He was comeback player of the year somehow. I don't know. Shout out. But 8 touchdowns, consistent performer there. He had 12,000 yards. Hey, 1,000 yards every year. Yeah, this guy's legit, Chad. Shout out. I don't know, we go Jimmy Smith Hall of Fame case, but he's getting pretty close, honestly. Not too many accolades more that you would need to cross over to that level. So, shout out, to him at receiver as well, too. Priest Holmes, 307 yards and 3 touchdowns, an absolute menace. Adrian Peterson, 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that would have been, I was going to say pretty close to each other, but 2002 versus 2007. I guess 2009, we've got similar years here. Chris Johnson and Jerome Harrison. Chris Johnson, 284, 3 touchdowns. And then Jerome Harrison, 298 and 3 touchdowns. Upsetting that. And then the most recent would have been Le'Veon Bell, 298 and 3 touchdowns. So we haven't had one in a decade of a guy having a performance like this as well, too. And that would have been 27-20 over Buffalo. I think I remember that game. He was obviously, now we remember he was going crazy, looking at his stats here. But, shout out. Ayo, Priest Holmes. Some fun names here to remember as well, too. Is Jonathan Taylor going to, Priest Holmes type of category legacy-wise? Priest Holmes, 3-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year. Because, I don't think he's going to get, Hall of Fame consideration. I guess he didn't quite get to the 10,000-yard mark rushing-wise, so there maybe is some stats thresholds there that he has to get to. But 86 touchdowns in 10 years. I mean, the man was a menace. You have 27 in 2003. It's obviously, this guy was going crazy. 3 straight years, 2,000 all-purpose yards, and, back-to-back years at 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, almost 25-plus, is just a crazy. If we could go, I'm sure, again, Bill Simmons has proposed something like the, I guess maybe he was saying a what-if wing or something like that, but just a seasons wing or a runs wing where it's just okay, this guy's 2 years were just crazy. Has anybody ever played this good? There just has to be a way to recognize that. Priest Holmes is just legit one of the best that's ever done it. So, again, maybe this benefits our guy Jonathan Taylor as well, too, if this type of thing does happen. But yeah, he's already, I guess, not AP Offensive Player of the Year. Sports Nation Offensive Player of the Year. Do we have to go back and look at what happened there? Was that a Lamar Jackson won both type of year? 2,000 yards and also 20 touchdowns. So if he gets that 20 touchdown mark again, again, not necessarily the Priest Holmes in the back-to-back years, but still would be incredible to accomplish that twice. So, I guess second in Offensive Player of the Year voting. Can we have, I guess we don't have AP. This would be AP Offensive Player. Oh, Cooper Kupp. That's right, chat. Hey, Cooper Kupp. So, that season was great. I think Taylor, obviously because of this year, the legacy stuff is going to be a little bit different between those two guys. But you can't necessarily you can't look back and be Cooper Kupp shouldn't have won that award with having 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns. But, hey, so maybe Taylor actually finally wins an Offensive Player of the Year. See, I've been thinking he was Offensive Player of the Year this whole time. But I guess he was, again, second to Cooper Kupp that year as well, too. But for the running back spot, would have been the number 1 running back in the league that year. So that case was still, in his favor. 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. So, cruises past the 1,000-yard mark for the season. 15 touchdowns now as well, too, 17. So, he's definitely going to get to 20 touchdowns. And should easily get to 2,000 scrimmage yards as well, too, I'd imagine. He's already he's on pace for 1,900 rush yards alone. So, again, I know Where's he at right now in the year? 218 receiving yards. Okay, he's up there. His most in, since that 2021 season. Again, I guess just the injuries the last 3 years have honestly been the biggest what if thing for him because he just, again, has missed so many games. 1,400 yards last year, 11 touchdowns in the 14 games that he's played. So every time he's out there, he's basically always producing. I mean, he is down a little bit per game in the 78, 74 range those 2 years, but 106 in 21, 102 in 24, and yet 94 for this year. So, easily past that now. Let's see here. 895. Where is he going to be at? 1,100 yards. So, yeah, he's at, not 11,000 yards per game. He's at, 110 yards. 113 yards per game. And what were we saying? 15 touchdowns. So, yeah, a touchdown and a half a game as well, too, which would be a new career. It is already pacing to be a new career high for him for both, I guess, the all-purpose and the rush touchdown metric as well, too. But, yeah, I mean, like we're saying, I don't know. So now I guess maybe I am a little bit more okay with him winning Offensive Player of the Year, just for him at least getting one under his belt. But he should definitely be in the MVP mix. Maybe the 1 seed will be an MVP battle between him and Goff. And I'm trying to remember because Detroit, I think, did end up getting Minnesota. The year that Adrian Peterson was competing with Manning for the MVP, Minnesota might have been a wild card that year. We can go back and double check. But they weren't the 1 seed. Maybe they did end up winning the division, which was another reason why that season was so impressive. But again, they weren't necessarily like a 1 seed, or maybe they were a 12-win team. I can't necessarily underrate how good Peterson was that year and what that resulted in for team success. But again, I think that the Broncos were a little bit of a better regular season team and a little bit just more scary overall, even though, the year itself didn't end out too great. And I guess Peterson did win the MVP that year. I'm just giving that MVP to Manning, talking like he won the MVP. Manning was actually the comeback player of the year that year as well too. So maybe that is a good correlation because they did maybe win a couple more games. So yeah, he's at plus 500. Mahomes is at 6-1. Stafford jumping up to plus 350 right now. So Darnold, I guess, is 7-1. There's the legacy stuff in play for Stafford. Drake May at the MVP favorite is crazy, and the Boston fans just must be going crazy betting this right now. I mean, again, the Patriots, there's definitely that schedule stuff in terms of them being the 1 seed, but, is Drake May going to win the MVP at 250? You can't necessarily underrate it. It is what it is. But you got Stafford sitting there at plus 350. I would think they would want to give Stafford a league. You would want Stafford to have a league MVP, right? And again, it's not like Drake May would have to have a completely undeniable stat season to where it's like we have to give this guy the MVP. It's the reason we have to give this guy the MVP. And again, I have Drake May in fantasy, so I'm not going to sit here and try to talk down his season as well too. I'm just saying, we also have Jonathan Taylor. He's so close, so we can definitely help him get to that number 1 spot. Pause. But whoa, but yeah, Stafford at this point with the Super Bowl under his belt and with the the Hall of Fame stuff, the all-time records, top 10 and all that different stuff, like an MVP would just be a really great legacy thing to have him in the mix for as well too. So again, with all due respect, like I just don't know if it has quite climbed this, but he still has the chance again. I guess if he has a great month here with him in front, like it's his to lose, so he only has to just keep playing how he's played and win some of these schedules, these games that they should win on their schedule here. But you do see more guys under 10-1 now a little bit as well too, with Darnold moving in there. And pause, and Hurts being again, I just don't know. Hurts being at 20-1, like what does the Eagles record have to be? Hurts is up there in all those advanced stats, and just from an odd standpoint, I'm not saying he has to win the MVP, but he has to be 20-1. And I guess I don't know why they have it listed here. They even have Herbert at 25-1 listed ahead of Jalen Hurts. They can't even see themselves putting Jalen Hurts above Justin Herbert. It is what it is. But I guess it what it is what FanDuel is doing. Anyways, we should maybe phrase it that way. But yeah, Josh Allen and Sam Darnold now tied as well too. So yeah, in the first half, like we're saying, he went from 12-1 to 7-1. So I guess Stafford and the competition is better as well too. You know, like we're saying, the Niners are a good record team at this point. But hey, yo, Drake May at the MVP favorite. We might have to. I don't even know what we do with that one, chat. Hey, yo, pause. We might have to just take a lap real quick and settle down from that. So maybe we take a quick break. Hey, yo, oh, wait a second. We're not even paying attention to Rockets versus Bucks over here, chat. Lock in. 2.5 minutes left. Hey, yo, Milwaukee. Oh, Milwaukee's now down 2. Jabari Smith. I got sound on for Red Zone. In Red Zone, we've got a combined like 100 to 17 in the late window. What is the combined score right now? Hey, yo, we should look that up real quick. But we've got 2 minutes left in this Rockets game. We still can't focus. Shout out. We're giving the NBA the rating, which is what counts, right? I guess, you know, we'll go back and rewatch the game and probably watch a couple of highlights on YouTube. So, you know, they're gonna get the views from your boy. Make no mistake. But 2 minutes left, 113 to 113. Durant on Giannis, or Giannis Durant, chat. That's a pause, but they're just immediately gonna pick and roll Turner right onto him. The switch, I mean, Giannis, shout out, but you gotta stick with Durant there. Oh, Turner, you know, he's a 7-footer. You think he's got the size to be able to contest, but Giannis, you got to fight over that screen. Durant, literally, you know, that's a classic 2025 screen. You're running that screen because you know that they're just going to go through the mechanics of switching it. Giannis to the basket, but Amen Thompson with the help side block. Hey, yo. So I think Giannis is going to go to the foul line there. Let's see if we can get sound on for this game, and maybe it'll, you know, help our focus as well, too. We pay attention to this. Hey, yo, Rollins, maybe just, you know, the fact that we now know Ryan Rollins is checked in. We'll be locked in, but... yeah, Giannis will go to the free throw line here to try to tie this up. But, you know, it's early in the season, so maybe, you know, playoff time, he's going to lock in. He's going to be all over the court, flying around, doing everything. If it's Bucks versus Houston in the finals and Giannis is guarding Durant, like, Giannis it's not that he's done enough, but it's like, okay, season's probably gone pretty successfully. But, yeah, maybe just bigger picture, you know, you'd want to see the defensive possession there continue all the way, all the way through the play there for as long as possible. But yeah, let's see. We've got, we do have, not 17, I guess, 24 combined points for the losers at this point. Hey, yo, shout out, not the losers necessarily, but, you know, we should say the losing teams in the late window. So it's 83 to 24. These teams are outscoring them 2-1. Is that correct? It looks even worse than that. Hey, yo. I don't even know how we did this math wrong, but 25 to 10, 24 to 7, 38 to 7. I mean, it is a brutal time for these teams facing these top tier teams at the NFC. I guess all NFC teams as well too. Hey, yo. So Steelers, Chargers. We'll see if they're able to keep us entertained. Rodgers, he's not gonna, I guess. Is he going to score enough? So it'll just have to be, I guess, a fun, competitive, well-fought game, and however that is able to play out. Şengün chest bumping somebody. Hey, yo, the little slip pass from Durant. Giannis in the post against Şengün, and Şengün is able to get the little hook shot to go. Just good patience there. Good job of the movement around him as well, too. Giannis just a little slightly confused there. But now 4-point lead by the Rockets at least gives you, a little bit more comfort than before going into out of the timeout here as well. So, hey, yo, we will, I guess, go to break after that game is over. We got to stay focused here for that one. But McDaniels at the press conference right now, Chad. Hey, yo, I mean, a much happier McDaniels, we should say. A little bit of a sigh of relief, pause, McDaniels in this game. As well, too. I don't know if this is more of a concern for Buffalo or, again, kind of a schedule loss game with them having such the hype win after the performance in KC. But it's also that type of game that makes you go, yeah, there's just that little bit of, the 99%. They just haven't quite got to the 100% confidence in some of these moments. And again, it's also the fact they've neutralized every regular season win against KFC. Hey, yo, is that what we call them this year? Against KFC versus, every play, they just lose one of the playoffs. every time. So KFC in the regular season, KC in the playoffs. Hey, yo. Giannis. Amen Thompson with the steal. He was trying to go Kuzma to the corner. So I don't know what what was the worst play? The kind of blind pass or the fact that he was throwing it to Kuzma. Hey, yo. Giannis, just again, take it yourself. Oh, swing it out to the corner. Is that a Koji for three? Hey, yo. That's what you want right there if you're Milwaukee. The seventh best guy on the team taking a three with less than a minute left. Giannis, oh, he's got to look at the basket. Sengun fouls him. Not able to get the and one, but 2 free throws here with a chance to go down two. A 17-5 run for Houston. Shout out. The fourth quarter here has been definitely beneficial for them. And, Houston or San Antonio with a pretty good win against them a couple nights ago, and then working Fox into the mix right away against New Orleans. Kind of the perfect game for them to be like, okay, if we have some, we can work out some of the problems or whatever of just some of the smoothness of getting Fox worked back into the lineup. And it did, pause. It did feel like it was kind of a decent time to get him worked back in the lineup as well too, because you do see that Castle, even though he has been awesome this season and just the amount of offense that he's able to produce is definitely more, with him maybe being a number one lead perimeter guy and him having to take a little bit more focus in that way, it was starting to become maybe a little too much responsibility for year two if he was just going to be consistently like a efficient performer for this year. So now Fox can actually be a guy who, of course, is, used to having the responsibility of being the number one guy in an offense like that. And of course, he can produce at an all-NBA level. Sengun is crossing up Giannis out here on the perimeter. Oh, he takes everybody to the basket, chat. Sengun, he's got the handles. We're going to start calling him Alprin Jamal Crawford Sengun, chat. I don't know what the rules are here, but I mean, he, shout out. We love Giannis. It is what it is. But he had Giannis on skates there. I think Giannis maybe was in try-hard mode. Giannis definitely goes into try-hard mode. It is what it is. On defense, you'd rather see that than, I guess I was going to say, than what Kyrie does, but Kyrie will go into try-hard mode as well, too, back in the day. But, maybe a little overly aggressive there. You're like, okay, are you actually going to get the steal, or are you just going to foul him before you even get the steal? Like, what's possible? But 6-point game, 23 seconds left. Ooh, looks like Milwaukee is just going to be short. Hey, yo, chat. I've never seen Red Zone run so many press conferences at halftime. There's no interest in the first half highlights. Apparently, the early window just totally unworth it. Not even a single touchdown to be seen from this halftime intermission here. All the games at halftime at once. And we have to sit here and watch Vrabel at the podium. But, they ended up with a hard-fought win, pause, against the Buccaneers. But I guess we're bouncing around here. We were just talking about McDaniels and Buffalo. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But you do have to give them credit for the way they ended up handling that sort of first half, second half situation. And they were able to capitalize in the scoring there. And that type of distance, was able to help them with the cushion in getting this win. And Drake May, like we're saying, MVP has been awesome, but Vrabel in and you hate to say it, it's almost cliche, but in a little bit of a Belichickian type way. Like, the vibes are there, Chad, and that's a little bit of a bummer. Like, you do have the sort of aggressive culture, curmudgeon-y type coach in Vrabel, and you have Drake May, playing the sort of, again, you don't want to say it, but just playing the young quarterback part there as well too. And I do think they both kind of know that a little bit. Obviously, Vrabel's like a, Belichick guy. So it's not just, oh, here's this guy who is you see Cignetti a little bit right now. And I don't know, maybe Kurt Cignetti did coach for Nick Saban at one point in the timeline. I mean, he probably did, just knowing, again, obviously Nick Saban's greatness with the coaching tree. And, it just wouldn't be surprising to see that have happened. But, like Cignetti, I was seeing a lot of people online kind of being like, oh, there is some definite Saban vibes here with the way that he just conducts himself and the way that the way that his team is performing and the way that his team has gotten better every year as well too. But he, again, I don't know if he's like a direct coaching tree guy that like learned from him or whatever and it was like got the mannerisms and the personality and the tendencies that way. versus, Vrabel actually being, again, a guy who coached under Belichick. Maybe he's playing a little bit of a bit, but still, it does feel like, either way, the impersonation has been pretty solid, positive to this point. And Drake May, with the Brady impersonation, has been pretty decent as well, too. So the playoffs, the clutchness, the fourth quarter stuff, like always being able to deliver as well, where, May had that pick in the fourth quarter that could have been costly. And then fortunately, the defense was able to get the play, which honestly, I can't believe we didn't even bring that up as well, too. And shows you, again, maybe how result-based we can get with some of this stuff. But if we're talking about MVP, McBride just running over a Seahawks defender there. If we're talking about MVP, Drake May did have that kind of costly play there in that game. And not to, again, hold it against him too much. Hey, how critical are we going to be here? But Jonathan Taylor on the other end, like, it's just like, okay, we can give the ball to Jonathan Taylor every play. He's jumping around, not, I guess I was going to say not fumbling. But in this one, he was able to, not fumble. The rest of the team as well, too. No crazy mistakes there. Around the goal line that were costly. Nobody's getting traded next trade deadline after this game. So, yeah, not his best game as well, too, to jump up to that number one spot. It's kind of funny. 16 for 31, 272 touchdowns, and an interception. Just the clutchness and, the good win, too, against Tampa. Henderson, honestly, had the big touchdown run, but 14 for 147 and 2 touchdowns. This is what Patriots fans, were annoyingly talking about in the regular season. Maybe it's good that, again, it took a couple of weeks for Henderson to get going as well, too. Because if you have Henderson and Drake May both playing well, it's like, oh, man, now, again, Patriots fans have literally bet this guy up to number one in the MVP odds. Diggs with a good touchdown, and then Mac Hollins, I guess, you're not locking that in for the next 10 years maybe, but a good game today is definitely going to be beneficial. Though, of course, Mbuka was cooking as well, too. And Gonzalez, shout out. He's obviously a great corner, but, Mbuka was making light work at points as well. 6 for 115 and a touchdown, and that's on 13 targets. It was definitely the Patriots front seven and the pressure that they were getting on Mayfield and him running around that was creating issues for the Bucs team moving the ball. But even on that last fourth down, like Baker was still able to almost get a little pass away there. And it was like, oh, man, it is almost a little Mahomes-esque with the creation sometimes and just the chaos of the plays that can be made. But yeah, Houston is going to get this win. Shout out there. And we, I guess, are going to have a couple other games firing up here for the NBA as well, too. I didn't know if that game would carry over directly into the other ones, but shout out. Looks like the schedule makers know what they're up to, chat. We've got, Brooklyn versus the New York Showdown. Brooklyn versus the Knicks. We've definitely been looking forward to that one. Hey, Danny Wolf in the Garden. Is he playing yet, chat? Lock it in. We should be there for that. But also, Thunder versus Grizzlies could be fun as well, too. Tickets as low as $17. And then Magic versus Celtics. So that hopefully doesn't turn into the way that the window here in the NFL has turned into with these blowouts. But we'll be back after break to follow along, lock in, keep going through, rambling about the early window of week one. Stay with us, chat. We got an afternoon ahead of us here. REMINGTOM Pod, Week 10 NFL. Don't go anywhere. Testing 1, 2, 3. There we are. We are on the right scene, Chad. Welcome in. A little behind the scenes extra camera angle there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's like this video of this. I even forget what the app is. This is how you know we're not cool. We're not online. Is it Omegle, something like that, where you do like the video chat dating type? I don't think it's video dating. Maybe video chat, but it's like, I guess video meeting people maybe is the better way to say it. But there's this guy that's like flipping around to different camera angles and like tripping this girl out, and it's pretty funny. But hey, I don't know if that's what we're trying to do there, but welcome back. I guess the break went a little extra long because we were trying to double check the setup on some things, not that particular scene in general. But hey, if that's maybe if you've been around a little bit, I don't know if that's an Easter egg of things to, something that's gonna happen. But just stay tuned. You never know what's around the corner on the REMINGTOM pod. You never know what's around the corner in these NFL games as well too. We're over here talking about how bad the late window is, but San Francisco down 21-7. We're not paying attention to the game, sort of the way it's playing out, because they did get the ball to start the second half. So that initial possession, anyways, you have a chance. And I guess we still got the NBA scoreboard up in the background. See, we're just ready to pivot away, chat. Hey we're done with the NFL. It is what it is. But they get the ball to start the second half. Of course, again, that gives you at least some opportunity there. They do go down and score a touchdown. So now it is 21-14. And like we said, at least as much as the Seahawks have made that game, that game could have been, I guess, close and entertaining. And if it's a fun watch, you're not going to say, it's not going to be bad. You're not going to have us say anything against it. But it doesn't really have any major stakes outside the Seahawks now competing for a, 1-seed division. It is important, but Arizona-wise, they don't really have anything, of course, like we're saying, left stakes-wise in the season. But this game having the most stakes, maybe turning out to be the most competitive, is best case scenario as well too. So I guess we'll be thankful for that. Shout out. But what else we were going to go through here for the pause? The early window as well. We were talking a little Tampa Patriots beforehand. We almost, I feel like, have to pull up the highlights for this Buffalo versus Miami game just to see what happened here. I mean, outside of the fact, as we mentioned before, that we have, thrown the fantasy jinx on one James Cook, shout out, who, I guess in some ways he has been, he's been a really good running back. Has he ever been a guy that we've looked at and gone, is he going to be the best running back in the league? I don't necessarily think so, but, when he was producing early in this year as well too, again, it wasn't necessarily surprising to be like, oh, maybe he has ascended. Hey, he literally just had 132 yards and a touchdown a couple weeks ago. So we got to be, he's having a good year. Or I guess, he had 114 and 0 touchdowns. What stats is he putting up here? 216 and 2 touchdowns against Carolina a couple weeks ago. So he's been doing okay. But, he's been a little more inconsistent when he's been in our fantasy lineup, I guess, than in the past. And it has been the timing of the weeks as well, too, where we didn't even, and for Taylor, I guess, as well, the rest of the team did okay. So we kind of needed all those 70 points. But we didn't even need half the points we scored this week that James Cook went off versus pause. We really needed these 2 weeks for him to play really well, and he just, didn't put up anything. So this is where, as I transition in, as we move into adulthood, we're not trying to be disrespectful out there. We're just, trying to make sure we appropriately translate what's going on in our lives. But, we, as we move into adulthood, maybe this is where I'm kind of starting to sour on fantasy football a little bit, is, not just the fact that, it's annoying to lose. I don't want to lose that competitive edge. Like, obviously, the idea of winning a fantasy league is fun, but I don't want to play, again, I don't want to not play fantasy to be like, I just am sick of having a team that loses. It's like, well, if you want to win, you know what you have to do. You have to actually commit to playing. If you're going to be in a fantasy league and then not commit to the fantasy league, you're probably not going to do that well. So if you want to, not be annoyed by fantasy and have a team that does well, you probably should commit a little bit more. But, if again, so I don't want to not play because of a fact of committing, though, again, time management also does become important as well too. It's like, it is what it is. But I guess point being, the emotional attachment you get to players either way. And this year I made the right decision in terms of obviously drafting Jonathan Taylor, but with just committing to the guys that are on my favorite team, where it's like, if they play well, then hey, I'm going to be happy either way. The team is doing well. The fantasy team is doing well. I drafted Jonathan Taylor higher than I should have. And the way Puka Nacua was playing as well, too. Like, honestly, the only guy I should have taken him over at this point probably is JSN. And the league that I'm in right now was a week 4 start. So JSN was like a top of the 3rd round pick, and it would have been a little bit too early to take JSN at like 8th at that point in the year. Hey, even though, it would have been absolutely the right move, and even over Taylor, again, emotionally, wouldn't have been the right move. But now, again, I have this like, I have kind of, tough football sort of competitive feelings with James Cook now, where it's like, hey, he cost me a couple of fantasy weeks. Hey, I'm not saying we're in the DMs over here being like, sending anything crazy, we're not sending any like risky threats in the DMs. Hey, I think we can sort of separate the stuff. But it's like, if we now just like if we mention our favorite running backs in the league when we're having the running back conversation, James Cook is definitely a name that we're thinking of now, but we only are thinking of those couple of weeks where it's like, oh man, we really needed a couple more points. We needed a touchdown. And it just didn't happen. And again, as somebody who I guess wants to be a mature adult at some point, maybe that is not a good thing to have in the football, in just a fandom sort of thing, because we don't really have, the circle of friends that want to commit to NBA fantasy basketball. And I'm not going to go, I guess I'm not committed enough to fantasy basketball to just be in like some auto-generated league. But because I'm not in a fantasy basketball league, I don't necessarily have that type of thing to just the players on the other teams, where again, James Cook's not even on the Colts. So if, James Cook, if I was a Bills fan and James Cook, calling him out, it is what it is. And again, he's having a great year as well, too. So I don't think Bills fans are looking at this being like, this year is James Cook's fault. Though, what's the fumbling for? Oh, no, only 1 fumble on the year. I guess 1 fumble lost anyways, if that's how it's counting it here. But, again, it's just like this. I'm not saying a random guy disrespectfully, but it's just a guy, a running back on another team who I could watch week to week, and all of a sudden, who's in the booth right now? Hey, I was like, can we back up the red zone pause? I was like, what just happened? Yeah, hey, chat, shout out. I guess that's just the knee jerk thing we say. Hey, IT, cut that out. It is what it is. But hey, I don't know if we have to flip the red zone off now or not. Go complete focus on the NBA. It was just like, hey, we did not expect the president to be in a broadcasting booth, just I guess in any sort of situation, but very, very jarring, chat. Hey, so I guess we'll just keep talking about James Cook. It is what it is. But what were we even saying about James Cook? Oh yeah, speaking of having sour emotional attachments, chat, perfect example. But and I guess speaking of also not doing it in a fantasy league, hey, chat, that's obviously maybe a couple different levels there, but imagine when it, I guess in some ways it does affect the pocketbook, but it's also, it's my own choice. I chose to bet on James Cook. It is what it is. But, the like we were saying, you just end up with just like, okay, this running back on this other team now all of a sudden had a bad week, and now I'm invested in it in the wrong way versus, again, just not having that in fantasy basketball. If I watch a guy have a great game on a random team, it's like, oh, I kind of like that guy now. And I'm invested in this guy's, like this guy in college. Like, we kind of like his draft stock. We hope he has a good career. We're not, Celtics, 21-9 start over Boston. We're not sitting here going, Franz Wagner's 3-point percentage is costing us in fantasy. And now all of a sudden, we're not thinking of Franz Wagner and, high levels of talent or whatever. It's just like, we don't necessarily have counter, those kind of counter performances balancing everything out. It's just like, we can just focus on when guys have good performances, and then when non-Spurs players don't play well, it's just like, oh, that's unfortunate. It is what it is. It's not directly affecting our fantasy basketball record, which is, of course, obviously very important. But regardless, again, James Cook today, an okay game that I guess is not going to be super costly as well too, and he was getting some receiving stuff. He had 5 receptions today, so not too bad there. Good looks, just not able to turn it into any yards. And Waddle, shout out to Waddle, who has been good since Tyreek has left. I don't remember exactly what week he was out, but I don't know. It might just show itself in the stats as well too. So here, let's see. Tyreek played up until was it against Buffalo last time that he got hurt? Yeah, they already did play Miami in week 3. So it might have been it might have been all the way back then that he got hurt as well too. Let's see if it actually loads here what the results are, or if we have to look it up off screen as well. Oh no, here we go. So yeah, 4 games played. Oh no, he got hurt against the Jets, so it was a divisional game, and he was doing good in that game as well too. 6 receptions for 67 yards, and like, hey yo, Tyreek Hill could have had a good year still. Wouldn't have been super shocking overall looking at the stats. But since week 4 here, let's see what Waddle has done. At least, and I guess, I was going to say the last 4, but if there was like that first game, sort of adjustment that was made. And, they did get the win this week. I don't remember if they did actually get a win last week because they've been a little bit more competitive over the last couple, even if they haven't actually, again, been like a major winning team. It doesn't feel like they were, way underperforming as the worst team in the league. And that was the tough part. Again, you would look at their roster and not necessarily think that they would be a team that would be competing for the worst team in the league standing. But again, they were not, playing up to the standard that we thought maybe they could, even if we didn't necessarily even have playoff expectations for him as well too. It wasn't necessarily going to be like they were, at the top of the draft. So I guess he got 100 yards against Carolina. Oh, the week after would have been actually his best game. But so 195, 99, and 82, and then 85 again today. So, again, it is a step in the right direction. It's not saying that he has all of a sudden ascended to be one of the best receivers in the league, but there's definitely like hey, we kind of forgot about Jalen Waddle a little bit in Miami. Like, is he still, respectfully, is he still a good receiver over there and healthy as well too? Is definitely, a major part of it. But yeah, definitely, again, even more consistently producing, because if that's a per game average, that still averages out to have a really, really good year, even if you're not having, again, the super high end performances on top of that. You see, even last year, yeah, he was outside of 144 yards. So he had 144 in week 12 against New England, and then 109 in week 1 against Jacksonville. Otherwise, you see 40, 26, 36, 46, 11, 45. So just the other performances were a little bit on the lower end of the scale. And then to start this year as well too, 30, 68, 39, 48, but definitely more consistent now. And if you pace that out, I guess, over a season, we'll see what he gets here. If it loads on the first time, Pro Football Reference not having success with that at the moment, though. Probably more our end pause than, shout out. I'm sure that they're, locked in production-wise over there. Carolina, or the Cardinals, driving here, almost in the red zone. It is 1st and 10, halfway through the third quarter. Brissett checks down to McBride. Again, every time we look up, Brissett's going to McBride, so I don't know if we have to look at his numbers there. I think he has taken over the number 1 fantasy tight end spot this year as well, too. And you see, again, Miami hasn't necessarily turned these games into wins. But the Carolina game was close. The LA game was close, and they did win that Atlanta game. So, yeah, Baltimore. And that Baltimore Thursday night game, I feel like it was just one of those, nobody was paying attention to that game. So that performance kind of just gets washed away as well, too. But, yeah, Waddle, for 17 games right now, he's on pace over the last 5. He's on pace for an 80 reception, 1,300-yard year, 6 touchdowns. So that's a really, really productive, obviously, really, really productive season for a wide receiver, and still, puts him back being a valuable asset. Now, you look at that receiver room a little bit as well, too, and you're like, hey, we're not necessarily, as far back in the depth of that as we, at least we have a guy there as well. Your running back room with Achane, and even Wright as well. Dude, what did he do today? Wright might have even had more yards. Let's see. Achane, 6 for 51. No, Achane did have a touchdown at the end of there. A couple touchdown runs. That's right. I guess only had 17 yards. Hey, yo, what was he? Did he have a reception? I thought I saw him have a play, but maybe it was just the one 18-yarder. Hey, yo, I guess that would have been. He had one 18-yard play and then 4 for -1. Okay, so we literally did just see. They just cut to the one Jalen Wright highlight there, and we're like, hey, yo, Jalen Wright's playing well. But yeah, maybe I don't know, potential. We'll have to see. But between Achane and Waddle, okay, it's like we still got weapons to, he's still throwing his picks, but again, maybe McDaniels as well, saving his job a little bit. You get an asset back for Jalen Phillips as well, too, and it's like, okay, again, maybe he's a great depth piece, but is he like a defensive transformational piece, obviously, and you still get a decent pick for him as well, too. Third rounder is that what it was? Third rounder is not bad. Again, almost a lottery talent, but NFL value, doesn't seem crazy where some of these guys are, getting fifth, sixth rounders back. So Miami, shout out to Mike McDaniel. He might be around next year, honestly. 3-7. How many wins? If Miami's, well, I don't know if they're a 4-win team. Does he stay around even if some of these games are close, just based off of one Buffalo win? Or do they have to actually win 3 more games? If they actually get to 6 wins, does Mike McDaniel get to keep his job? And it's like, okay, maybe the 2 is factor, but maybe you get into the weird spot where you're like, where you're like, if you want to lose those 4, you want to win just those 4 games and then get that quarterback pick, if you have a little bit of a selection there, and then, maybe give McDaniels one more chance to see if he actually is, able to compete, produce a good offense again with a little bit more of an efficient quarterback. So I don't know, Ty Simpson. Oh, I heard Ringer Tailgate. Hey, shout out Van Leith. Shout out to the crew. They were talking and saying that maybe McShay on his show was saying that Miami's eyeing Sellers right now from South Carolina. So that could be kind of fun. He's obviously, a dynamic athlete in that offense, would be an interesting look compared to Tua. But they got, I guess, a bye week. The Buffalo win, I guess, is registered now on PFF. Shout out to the update. So they got Commanders next, winnable game for sure. Then a bye. Then the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, the Bengals, Patriots, Bucks, Patriots. So they could maybe end a little 0-2. I don't know. Burrow probably not going to be back end of December. Pittsburgh maybe a loss as well. But they could go on a little win streak here, I guess. If they win 3 out of 5 out of this run, I don't know. Maybe again, just enough to make you want to run back some of the infrastructure stuff. Because they did already say that he was going to be there for the entire season. And they did, of course, already fire their general managers. So they could have already moved on from him. And there's clearly, at least some little bit of a commitment there to having him as the lead coach. But, of course, the Seattle defense has locked up. Oh! Hey, Brissett almost threading the needle there, actually, to Marvin Harrison. He kind of almost should have caught that. Hey, Harrison? Is that Kobe Bryant making a good play on defense? You got to credit the effort, staying with him and breaking up the pass a little bit. But Brissett's been firing here. Hey, I guess 21-38 again. It's still almost not competitive, even if you score a touchdown here. But at least, I don't know, betting stuff, alt spreads, fantasy points, there's always still something on the line here in these games. Jacoby Brissett as an underrated fantasy, can produce the late game stats type of guy. I mean, he's definitely there, Chad. He's definitely there. I know Kyler has a little bit of that as well, too. But I think Brissett maybe... Is Brissett better down 21 than Kyler Murray? Is that the question? Because I think maybe Arizona, unfortunately, has been, paused down 21, some of these teams just in general as well, too. And, yeah, Detroit is cooking Washington here, 32-16. Goff picks up a 3rd and 1. So they are looking good as the third quarter winds down there. In Boston, a little run here, first quarter. Okay, I mean, was Orlando going to really, take out Boston like that? 24-26, they've worked their way back in the game. So we'll see. Orlando, I don't even know what their record is at this point. I did see New York 5-3, so they're starting to get the wins back under their belt as well, too. But, yeah, Josh Allen, the MVP... it was definitely his to lose, I think, going into the year. And he's had a couple of these performances where, again, that KC win was obviously a big one in terms of him jumping back up in front of the odds. But even still, him and Mahomes were tied after that game. And, again, he's just had at least a couple like that. It goes to how important he is for the team as well, too. Obviously, that when they lose, it is sometimes, a little bit of a up and down performance from him. But let's see here what I am trying to remember from this season as well. Oh yeah, that 2 interception game versus Atlanta was obviously, and Atlanta's defensive line was them continuing to show that they were trending in the right direction. That New England game, New England was, in May was clutch at the end of that one with making great plays. So maybe that was just, again, great. It's like they ran into Drake May's greatness and the greatness of Atlanta's defensive line, and then were able to take down Carolina, Kansas City. But then, like we're saying, the loss to Miami today. So it is what it is. I guess, they're going to lose some games. The divisional game as well, too, is when were they on the, and they were on the road today. So I don't know. Them going to Miami might be one of those things. But Achan, of course, tearing him up is not good. And just the fact that, again, like Tua was able to produce a little bit of something. Early on, he had a pass where it's just like, oh man, he's just throwing these literally right to the defenders. Like, this is crazy. I guess, it's tough that they do have Zach Wilson there too as a backup. It's honestly probably the thing that's, but probably the thing that's keeping Tua in the starting lineup at this point. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm are we overly concerned about Buffalo? But this seems like, if we're going, okay, what's the typical Buffalo season? Are they headed for that kind of playoff thing again as well too? We could definitely see something like that happening. Not surprising there, but other games to mention here. 3rd and 1, San Francisco converts. So are they are getting close to scoring 21-28. They get a stop. Who do they have left on defense to get a stop? Maybe is the problem at this point. But you got to, of course, credit their offense for continuing to compete as well. Houston with the win over Jacksonville, even with Davis Mills and the comeback as well too. Boss, speaking of those victories, should we talk about Caleb Williams as well? We didn't see a ton of this game on the red zone, and I think Jackson Dart might have left this one with the concussion as well too. So Jackson Dart, if he plays the rest of the game, do they win? Russell Wilson 3 for 7 for 45. I don't know. Jackson Dart MVP talk, 19 for 26, 242. No Scattaboo. I don't know who would have been better for them winning this game. More important, Scattaboo, Jackson Dart, or even Malik Neighbors, which is, again, a credit to all of them individually, that maybe they could have each have had that type of impact on the game, and shows that at least if that core is healthy, that they're all in the right direction as well too. But Mac Jones escaping pressure in the pocket this vaunted Rams defensive line. He finds one of the tight ends out in the flat. We got a touchdown here, a little extra point to see if we can make it a 7-point game. So there we go. We got a competitive game here. As long as some of these other games stay in the fourth quarter, we can keep this one on in the red zone. They can show this broadcast for as long as possible. But yeah, again, shout out to Dart and Caleb Williams, continuing to compete as well too. Ugly wins. It is what it is, but their record is good. And there was this stretch in the schedule where it's like, okay, if the Bears are going to be a playoff team, it's definitely going to be, they can be a good team for sure, but they also have a schedule that could potentially be very favorable for them as well. And they are taking advantage of it. So shout out, Ben Johnson. I mean, it feels like it's rare that, I guess a coaching tree, it is what it is actually good, but it does happen where, the head coach, of course, is legit, and then he loses his assistants and he's able to replenish, and the assistants are able to go off and be good as well too. I know, say what you will about Aaron Glenn and the Jets. I still think Aaron Glenn has got something as a head coach in the NFL, but definitely tough to make that argument right now for sure. But again, the Ben Johnson experiment is definitely, at least, again, we're above the water at this point with where the team is supposed to be at in the season. And there is still that factor of, yes, you were supposed to, I guess also transform Caleb Williams into Pat Mahomes or whatever, or, just whatever great passer as well too that, you expect the comparison there. But, Chicago, there is I guess, Kansas City, you get the ugly weather there as well too, even Buffalo and even in Baltimore. So any of these, all those quarterbacks do have the outdoor factor that they are able to power through there as well too. But, Caleb Williams is still stringing together these games. He is still playing efficiently. So at some point, like we're excited about Bryce Young having a winning season up until, this week, obviously in Carolina. But, we've been excited about Bryce Young's winning season. It's like, well, the stats haven't been there. So we have to, I guess give Caleb Williams his credit too as well for being able to pull together some of these wins. First quarter up, Magic up 3 versus the Celtics there. So it looks like that was possibly the right choice for NFL games or for NBA games as well too. But yeah, great fourth quarter there by Chicago to make the win, and maybe just goes maybe more to New York's fourth quarter defense as well too. They've given up this type of game to Chicago and Denver as well. So Denver scored what, like 33 in the fourth quarter against them, and now 14 against Chicago. So maybe Chicago didn't score enough in the fourth quarter, honestly. Caleb Williams, should have been 20 plus against this team. But Jacksonville versus Houston, the Davis Mills miracle game, keeps Houston's, kind of frisky playoff hopes alive. I don't know if we have to go back to the playoff indicator there. Their record is still, of course, behind Jacksonville here as they fall to 4-5. But they would have been a fun 6-3 team as well, too. It's like, how does Jacksonville have this many wins? So, this is definitely like a little bit of a yikes Trevor Lawrence game. That interception was tough. I think it was in the first half, if I remember correctly. Their defense as well, too. Texans, is obviously great. And ETN not able to have a huge day because of that. Nico Collins returning, 7 for 160, 136. Maybe he is the MVP of the offense. Stroud overrated, I'm not sure, but Woody Marks as well too. The Willis Reed game, he just like collapsed going to the sideline at one point, something with an ankle or something, but I guess returned later in the game as well too, was able to get a touchdown in this one. So you get 20 carries here from your running backs, 19 carries, over 100 yards and a touchdown is a pretty productive day as well. And like we were saying in that game last week against Denver, when Stroud went down, early on Davis Mills was playing good, and then of course that Denver defense, that Denver team is also really good as well. So maybe Davis Mills again playing like okay today is not the most surprising thing in the world, especially against Jacksonville. But speaking of fourth quarters, 26-0 in the fourth quarter is just dare we say like a season type loss for Jacksonville. But here I guess maybe we should go to the playoff indicator after this game as well too. Standings, I think it was somewhere in here. Pause. We'll be able to find it again, because the division definitely would have been a little bit of a outside chance, just them being better than Indy as well too. But again, if their record was obviously still this great, they could have been definitely a wildcard team. So 5-4, they're still in the mix, especially with KC on the bye. And that tiebreaker against KC, I guess, is going to be kind of an interesting thing. But I guess the point differential is an interesting stat there to look at. So KC is second in the AFC in point differential. I guess that's not necessarily something that I would have considered, but does, of course, continue to, and, their record and opponents and stuff, shows that their wins have been dominant, but it's not something that I guess I would have thought of necessarily as well too. Patriots, then Broncos, then the Houston Texans at 4-5 or plus 54 in point differential, but or 4-5. I guess, did they like really destroy Carolina or something? They did have a really impressive win as well too. Buffalo at 51, and then the Chargers at 6-3 or plus 22. Steelers at 7, Baltimore -6, and then the Jags, it drops off at -15. So this might have been the changing of the guard game, and I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get into it. Like, do you keep Davis Mills in? But maybe you have a week now to get Stroud extra healthy as well too. Let's see. I think they already have their bye week, or is it approaching here? First and goal for the Rams would be a big touchdown to help continue to put that game away. So they've got Tennessee next week. So, I mean, speaking of resting CJ Stroud, you might be able to give CJ Stroud another week off with the concussion. And then you go Buffalo as Thursday night. So you would have a short week there. Stroud wouldn't have the extra full week, but that would be a nice, little break there. I think if we're just talking concussion for the injury. And Kyron Williams does end up getting in the end zone here. So, yes, they do push the lead, the Rams, in potentially making this 35-20. But Buffalo, Indy, Chiefs, Cardinals. So that Buffalo, Indy, Chiefs run is gonna be, of course, a record, make or break type of schedule run as well too. But hey, yo, speaking of break, chat, we'll go to break and then we'll be right back. A little surprise on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Hey, yo, the Rem and Sam pod. Wink, wink. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're taking calls. Our first calls from Sam in San Francisco. What's up, Sam? Welcome back. Is this the sign of a stressful Chiefs season that you have to wait for a Chiefs bye to call in, or what? How's it going? How's everything out in the Bay?
I don't know.
Oh, did Sam freeze right away? Oh, chat. It is what it is. It's okay. Just if
Are we back?
a Sam poster in the background works as well too. Oh, maybe just Sam's name. I don't know. Either way, hey yo, as long as he's hanging out, we're having fun. I don't know if he's able to. I don't know if you guys saw real quick if he had, if you guys were able to see the car in the background. I don't know if he's got any of the games on at the moment. How he's been following along, but he's locked in. And he is keeping up. Do we have to get a power ranking? What is the most exciting, Sam storylines at this point? And it's been, we got there could be some off-season stuff that we got to catch up on. I don't know what's been, weighing on his mind as well too from a sports setting. What's he really got to, hey yo, get off his chest, boss. But I guess, hey yo, if IT's able to get this guy connected, we'll be able to see IT. Hey, yo, the one time we need to pull through, it's like,
I know.
they're not
Can you hear me?
Oh, we do. We can hear him. Okay, we can hear him. We got audio, if anything.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, and we got video now. Okay, look at this. It's 2025. IT,
Are we
they
back?
know what they're doing. Let's go.
There we go.
Can we get the satellite pointed to
IT did help me
California?
hook
What's
up.
going on here?
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. No, I just had to come onto the pod to give you your props, man. You picked winners. It took a little bit of time, but all your teams are killing it right now. I can see the smile on you. Colts are, looking like the best team. I was trying to look up the score. Did you guys win in OT? Or
We did get the win.
did you
Taylor.
beat the Falcons? Nice. So yeah, you Colts are on top. Wemby looks like the best player ever. Michigan football, you guys are making the march back. Even basketball, you guys are top 10. Like,
Yeah.
bro, what? I don't even know. You don't even need me on the pod. You got so much content.
Have you seen anything about Michigan college basketball so far? Because that's the one thing that I have kind of.
No.
I'm still waiting to get in on the college basketball season, but I've been seeing posts about this senior who I think we got in the transfer portal, and he's like the number one senior in college basketball as well too. So it's like, yeah, we got the number one player in NFL, NBA, college, and then maybe not college football, but Bryce Underwood's good. We still have some. Have you seen any
Oh
Bryce
my
Underwood
gosh.
this year at all? Any highlights or
Yeah.
anything? Yeah,
No, but I know he's come. He's probably the most hyped up player in college football.
yeah, and
I don't
he's
know.
the
They
number
got
one.
some Oracle money. They got money from outside to bring him in. Like it was
Yeah.
a lot of big money in that involved. But I guess for you, like, I mean, this whole time, most time around the pod, it's been the Chiefs, Chiefs, Chiefs. You know,
Yeah.
them bumping up. But now, how is it to have the spotlight? Like now, you're the guy. You're the one with all the winning. Like, how is it?
It's good. It's obviously the Wembenyama piece. I feel like is maybe a little bit more the Chiefs correlation here because again with all
Mm,
due respect to Daniel Jones, I mean maybe we could get your opinion on the long term Daniel Jones thing as well too because that could definitely factor into your opinion of the Sauce Gardner trade. What's happening there in
yeah,
Indy,
that was
but
huge.
Mahomes is Wemby's definitely the more Mahomes type where it's like it's not even just and this is where I get actually like super selfish as a sports fan, where
Mm,
you can like, and with all due respect to like Shea does everything from a historic level that you want a guy to do, and you look at his guard numbers, like the MJ thing is yes, it's definitely over here historically, but also it is
yeah.
what it is. The numbers are you line them up certain seasons, they are similar, but just the what Wemby is able, what the upside is, and what he is able to bring to the table from a skill wise in the NBA where you're just like there is nobody else in the NBA that is capable of this. And the fact that we have that on our team is like I can't imagine that. Like that is where it's at with Mahomes where and again, like Brady was able to win at every level. So it ultimately didn't matter, but and yes, I guess to some degree the accuracy and the clutchness, you would watch Brady and be like his ability to elevate in the moment who could do this, but you wouldn't but
Yeah.
Mahomes had that on the field aspect where it's like he's accomplishing things
Mm,
that nobody ever accomplished, and that's that extra factor with
exactly.
Wemby that is extra special. Where it's like, that's where I think Ant was a little bit there, maybe over Shea in terms of the face of the
Yeah.
league conversation, where it's like he can maybe, you know, athletically achieve some things that Shea can't. But it's like not only do we
Hmm.
have a guy that maybe can lead us, of course, to a title, but can actually be the best player in the league, and literally there's nobody in the league that could potentially match him from a skill standpoint, and that's the
What?
selfishness is paying off.
And this is I'm coming on hot. Yeah, on the pod. It's been a little bit since we come out here. I honestly, and of course you can correct me if you're wrong. I think Wemby is clearly on the track to be the greatest Spur of all time,
Mm.
and I think it is, Tim Duncan, Dave Robinson, Iceman, Walter, Irving,
Gotta name him.
there's
Shout
been
out.
some great, yeah, I got to name them. But when you think of players, not just best on the court, but off the court, Wemby really has the potential to be the next
Mm.
face of the league. And I know we always try to put it on someone else. John Moran and Zion fell through. Jason Tatum got hurt, and people it just felt fake with him. You know, and with Curry and LeBron aging, the league is just dying for another face. And we just saw it with the finals. Like Shea's cool, but like everyone just keeps making fun of him and the fouls and stuff. Wemby last year played, as you know, 48 games and led the league in blocks. Like that stat alone should bring actual fear to teams. Now he's taken up another level. We can see the mock training. You can see the calmness about him onto another level. Just the strength, just to know, oh, like I'm really that guy. And I'd say like the first, last year he was hurt, and I don't think we really got to see a little bit of the jump. And I think first year he's still trying to figure stuff out, physicality and stuff. But like this year, you can really see it. He's like, oh, I'm this much better than everyone else. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
literally better than everyone else. I always expect him to make some crazy play. I'm not gonna react when they get destroyed. And again, like Wemby, but it's not just on the court, but now he's starting to do the off the court things where it's the great quotes. I don't know. I don't want to throw out great names, but some of the way he's moving, the calmness, the knowing of the people to talk to, the quote like, "Oh, I'm still gonna keep jumping until
Yeah.
I get to until we, till the day that I get dunked on, and we'll never see that day." Like that's
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali type stuff where you're like, all
Oh,
right, like there's
okay.
definitely, I I think we can confidently say like he's stepping on hollow ground of like he can be a transformational athlete on and off the court, and he's like really really insanely talented, and he's really cool.
Is it fair to say that he might actually be the face of the league right now? Because, like, LeBron,
Mm,
like, I don't know if I'm turning into coward here, but he hasn't been playing, and I have like actually there have
yeah,
been
that's
times
true.
watching Laker games where I'm like, oh man, like locked in. Hey yo, I guess it not locked in with the proper spacing here on some of the graphics. Okay, we've got some reconnection. We may have to. Oh, are we gonna have to re-invite our guy? We may have to reset this up. The Wemby is the league. The league. The minute we start talking about LeBron not being the face of the league, hey yo, now all of a sudden we're getting internet shut down. All of a sudden Sam can't get connected. It is what it is. We'll see if IT is able to bring him back on. Okay, what's up? Uh, Good to see you. I guess twice there. Pause, but yeah, shout out. Hey yo, I guess shout out. I guess like we were saying, we're definitely hyped up on the Wembenyama season, but we didn't even consider in sort of the narrative presence that was happening as well too. But I think, hey yo, we're having some Wi-Fi issues on our end over here, so sorry if the connection's a little unstable there. But maybe are we
No worries.
conspiracy theory time? We start talking about LeBron not being face of the league, and all of a sudden the internet starts going out. I
Exactly.
don't know what's going on there.
Exactly. Now, I think though you got to make a deep run in the playoffs before you can become the face of the league or even one of the
Fair.
main household names. I mean, that's when Anthony Edwards really took that step into a household name when he had that Kevin Durant series where he just, they just destroyed them. Like he's like, "You're my hero, but I'm going to kill you in this series." And even with LeBron, it wasn't until those Detroit games, though, like the Detroit, when he got over Detroit, or even playing those games against Detroit in the conference finals, that I think it's like, oh, you're really one of these people. I think at that point it's still Kobe. So I'd say now I think it's still Luka Doncic. I still think Jokic still gets his respect. Giannis, some of these other players are still like some of the first names people
Mm-hmm.
bring up, but we need to, for Wemby, he just honestly needs to just stay healthy. I mean, you guys being second in the West already is huge, and we'll see. I mean, how much more of a jump do you think this team can take with De'Aaron Fox added? I mean, do you think you could really be like a serious like top four team in the West? Like, how many teams would you put over you with Fox on this roster and healthy?
I mean, is it fair to, I don't know how, if this necessarily correlates to like a power ranking per se, but I would say the only teams that are like directly really scary in the West at this point are of course OKC, and Jokic just makes Denver equally scary as well too. But I wouldn't say like roster for roster. If we just take Wemby and Jokic off the rosters, I would still rather have the Spurs roster, even maybe right now
Mm,
as well too. There's still a little bit more veteran experience on that Denver team, and it's still pretty good. But and Houston, they were looking pretty good today. They had a pretty impressive closeout win against
yeah.
Milwaukee. But I don't know if I'm at this point in the season like overly scared at Houston, where I think Wemby could still take over that series and
Mm,
kind of win that series single-handedly. Like I think that's really what it is. Is I think at this point Wemby is kind of good enough if he's maybe we still need that consistency piece to be proven, but I think he is good enough to kind of
yeah.
single-handedly win a series over basically anybody at this point except Jokic or maybe OKC. And I am disrespecting Luka a little bit by not bringing him up here constantly,
Yeah,
but
the Lakers.
I don't know if I'm
The healthy
quite terrified of
LeBron.
the Lakers. Yeah, maybe healthy LeBron as well too. Maybe we got to throw the Lakers. So maybe they're a little bit of a step back, but I think that mix of Spurs, Lakers, Rockets, and then Denver's kind of hovering right between that tier and OKC. But I
Yeah.
think we're really close to that OKC Denver group, and I think we're also the most likely to get better this year as well too. Better than because I just think with our young talent, that's a better bet than I mean, Houston's got a little bit of the young talent as well too, but I think they're a little bit more at their
Yeah.
ceiling and just kind of getting that
Yeah.
game to game consistency locked in. But I think the Fox thing is going to work even better than I personally thought as well too, because I think his ability to
Mm.
actually like Castle's been playing great this year, and Wemby's obviously
Yeah.
taken a step up offensively as well too. But I don't know if still end of games he's quite as fine tuned as he would need to be, of course. And Castle isn't
Mm.
quite ready to be, I think, a full 82 number one option on offense. And De'Aaron Fox can actually be
Yeah.
both of those things. He doesn't need to be the number one if Wemby's like going super crazy, but he can at the end of the games lock in and be the fourth quarter scorer and like I'm saying, be the lead
Yeah.
offensive guy to help Castle develop there as well too. So I think he's gonna absolutely make this team more dangerous. And like I said, I would only be at this point majorly scared of Jokic and OKC, but I probably would be more scared of Luka as well too come playoff time.
Yeah, once he actually starts cooking. We'll see. I mean, it's just scary to see what happens with it. I mean, what's a realistic expectation for this team? Like, could you see yourselves like would you be disappointed if you didn't make it to the second round of the
I think
playoffs?
at this point we do have to win a playoff series, and I think it is the
Mm.
combination, like you're saying, of Wembenyama being that guy, and this team is actually also like I'm saying, like it's both things are happening simultaneously. Wembenyama is
Yeah.
ascending as a great individual player, but this Spurs roster is also proving itself as a great roster to have around Wembenyama, and like I said, that's Castle still, yes, needing to take steps as a number two guy, but showing that him or even Dylan Harper as a rookie, like
Mm.
Dylan Harper as a rookie is
What
going to
about Vassell?
Vassell as well too. Like those guys falling into the mix in a little bit more of an
Mm.
appropriate order, you can see has made their games better as well too.
Yeah.
So that team needs to prove itself that it can be a playoff team. Because that I'm trying to remember who. Maybe it was New Orleans, but there was an overtime game this year where Wemby fouled out and they were still able to close. Like
Yeah.
Castle and
Yeah.
them.
That was yeah.
Yeah, and like that, they still need to be a good, and especially with Fox as well too. Like a team with Fox, like Fox alone, and I know he's gonna get a little now that if he's like the fourth guy on San Antonio, and he was
Yeah.
never able to really be like a playoff guy as a number one, but he should be a guy that can be a best guy in a first round of a playoff series. Like that shouldn't be too
Mm.
much to ask for De'Aaron Fox. So I think the
Yeah.
collective of it all, like, yeah, I mean, there's no way you disagree with me, right? They should definitely be a team at this point in the season that's expected to win a playoff series.
Yeah, I think it's just we've never seen it before with this Spurs team, So it's just like I don't. It is interesting that to see early projections. We'll see how it is 82 games, so I don't know. Another team that I thought was really interesting, that I was trying to come into the pod and call it, but didn't make it. But I do think the 76ers are going to be good this
Mm-hmm.
year, and not because of Joel Embiid. I mean, Edgecombe I think was the one rookie I really thought was going to be really he's going to really stand out, and I think he is going to win Rookie of the Year. I know Cooper Flack's trying down with the Mavs, but I think Edgecone's going to be in a lot of big games, and I think he's going to make big plays. That it's gonna unless Cooper Flack starts dropping like 30 or 40, a night. I do think he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year, and the 76ers are going to. We'll see how. I think they're going to be dangerous, especially once Jared McCain comes back.
And just real quick as well too. So San Antonio right now is the 2 seed in the West. So the
Yeah,
the 7 seed in the West would actually be Portland. So like again,
yeah,
Wemby should be. You got Phoenix,
yeah. You should be
Memphis.
able to beat Portland. Yeah,
Like if it's
but
that type of
Portland's
team,
defense.
they're
Have you been
good.
looking, lady? They're clamping.
But we're talking about Wemby as like the next Kareem.
Yeah,
Like this guy should be able to win that kind
yeah,
of playoff series. But yeah, and the Maxi piece of it as well too. I know that again, this was like what is Embiid and Paul George going to look like as
mhm,
just as their careers age out. But I feel like both of us have been really high on what Maxi's upside has been as a scorer, and maybe you even like him
yeah,
a little bit more than me. But we've always kind of thought that he could be in that 27 maybe point a game
mhm,
range, and there is of
yeah,
course that good team, that good stats bad team class of guys. But
yeah,
I guess is it as surprising to you that he's ascended to be, because you got like our guy Bill Simmons has talked about like, oh, is he on this Brunson Mitchell level? But And the more I've thought about it, it's like I feel like us both have thought that he could get there from a numbers scoring wise. So
Yeah.
maybe the fact that they're like the 1 seed in the East or whatever is a little surprising. But is it as surprising to you that he might be in a second team All NBA race for a guard spot?
No, I don't think so. I think his athleticism and his competitiveness just makes it too tough not to be. And I think the intensity that you can see from him, from Edgecombe, I think McCain's an intense player. I think just puts so much pressure on Joel Embiid, and it almost makes you think for the 76ers, does it make sense to really trade him? Like, are you really going to go through how many more seasons are you going to go through with him being slow, not really performing? Like, it's going to be I one of these, I think it's going to be in the next 2 to 3 years that people are really going to realize how bad it was of giving him that MVP, especially bullying the NBA into giving him
Oh
an MVP.
no,
He
it's
shouldn't have gotten that.
fine.
He
It's
It should have been
fine.
Jokic. It should have been Jokic.
Jokic
It
can't win
still should
every
have been.
MVP.
He can, and he should. It should have been Jokic that year, and I think and it was just more the bullying of it, and he has the most points, and then he never shows up in the playoffs. He's never made a conference
Do you think
finals,
he would have
let
won
alone
the
win it.
MVP if Perk hadn't said anything?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll
Is
never
that
know.
because
We'll
that's the
never
only
know.
thing that people are like, okay, like Perk was getting a little crazy, but like
He
otherwise
was
he was
getting
scoring like
insane,
he was scoring
but
32
that's
a
what
game that year. Like he was going
But that's
nuts.
what sources were saying. That's what people around Embiid were doing. That kind of language. So I don't think he deserved it. And every time we see him play, even during USA basketball, like the talent is there, but he's too big. He plays way too slow. He falls way too much. Like he gets injured too often. Like there's just so many issues. And you see these young, yes, maybe a little bit less talented players, but just who want it so much in terms of Maxine Toucher. Edgecombe talking about like living on a generator. Like he just really wants to go out there and compete. And it's just tough to watch that and then be like, oh well, here comes Embiid lumbering down. Like let's hope he makes a mid range again from the top of the key. Like, and he just doesn't help. He doesn't help the team, in terms of
Yeah.
like their chemistry, their things. So it just feels like he's out of a different time and a different timeline, and they should trade him before he gets injured again, and then they don't have any value for him.
And that to me seems like the most unfortunate part of this because yes, we do want, Joel Embiid to still, MVP, whatever, but like first team All NBA level guy just for him to be one of those elite players in the league. But is there not a world where he could be a more it's always tough for a star player to be able to fall back into this role. But I was saying this a couple of live streams ago, like if there was like an Al Horford type of role for him where he was just kind of a fun defensive guy who could step out and hit some outside shots and maybe be limited offensively, like maybe you're not relying on him in a final five way like you do Al Horford, but I think he could still be a fun guy career wise, like seventh, eighth man. And you're right, it just seems to be a little like Westbrook in that type of way, where he's always going to be a lead guy. He's
Yeah.
always going to kind of play his main style of game. Because especially with these guards around him too, he could still be really good on this. Like there's still a world where Embiid is an impact guy in the NBA, right? Like maybe he doesn't live up to the
Yeah, I'm
contract, but
not
still.
saying he's a bum. I'm not saying he's a bum, but yeah, the contract and just how much oxygen he takes away from these young, exciting, hardworking players who need to grow. And I think he's taking shots away from players that are playing winning basketball. They're not winning because of him. Yeah, I think they're winning with him, but with him being on the team. But, I think they'd be just fine without him. I think, they're an exciting team, and I'm always in favor of like trying to trade and move from these guys. And you see like a team like the Celtics, that's what they did, like rebuild, figure out some young players until your superstar comes back. So you just gotta be willing to move on from your players. But yeah, no, it's tough.
Is
It's
Nico
it's
Harrison
tough
the only
having
guy that would trade for him at this point?
maybe. I don't know. That's all mess. They get Cooper Flag on the team. That'd be crazy.
Nico Harrison's like
That'd be
Embiid
crazy.
and Davis together. It's unstoppable.
And top defense. I did also quickly want to shout out friend of the pod, William Wettengale at
Oh,
Club Nationals. Had a great game. Had a great Nationals. He's been really taking off his career. Playing for Chicago Union. They were like undefeated for most of the season until the playoffs, unfortunately. But just wanted to shout out Will Wettengale. Had the first block in the men's championship game,
Mm.
which they did, use to get the league. But unfortunately, they did lose in the championship. But just want to let you know we're watching you, man. Shout
Yeah,
out.
shout out.
Hopefully one day we'll get that interview. I don't know.
Wendell, call
He's
in.
just ascending. He's
Wendell, look, we're
ascending.
taking callers, so the lines are open.
Unfortunately, not an Alley Cats player anymore, but he's
It
moving
happens.
up and on.
Once an alley
Alley
cat,
Cats is
always an
just
alley
tough.
cat.
They're losing all their greats. Cam Brack. They're all gone. They're all gone, but no, just had
Is
to shout them
Wettengale
out.
gonna get his?
I know.
Is he like a Ring of Fame type of guy for the alley cats? I don't. How many years
One
is he there?
year. It was rookie year.
Just 1 year.
Remember,
Wait,
we found him rookie year.
did we trade
No, it
him?
was
What
2 years. It
happened?
was 2 years. It was 2 years. No, like it's so like with frisbee, you just go to the better team. So even though he may live in that same area, I think he was going to Cincinnati for school, and then I don't think he's still in college,
Mm.
but you just go to like the better area team. So instead of playing in Indianapolis, he's playing in Chicago, which isn't that far from each other. And then usually you don't have to go to all the practices, at least for clubs. Like you kind of practice at home and then you just show up for games. So, you know, it's it's what happens when you want to play on championship teams, and he's playing championship level frisbee. So, shout out,
I mean, that's how
shout
you
out. We
know
see
things
you.
are just something's not right. Where even the guys that were like him for like everybody from Victor Wembanyama to Daniel Jones and Will Wettengale's a star as well too. Like
And out
we're batting 100. There's no way.
100. Chiefs are trying to make a comeback. We'll see. Last week was rough. I don't know. Fifth straight Bills lost, but
But you guys don't
I
even
don't
care about the regular season
know.
against the Bills. I feel like
I
you
guess.
like
Honest,
it like this at this point. Pause.
losing to them, so we can hype them up, set them up for failure. I mean, that's what
Is it like just the
what's his name?
is it just like the what do you call it? Like the familiarity of the just this is the formula of how it goes every season. You're like, okay, we know if we lose to him in the regular season, we'll probably win to him in the playoffs. So we'll just rather take the regular season loss and not risk it.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of that. So, like, Bill Russell, one of the famous stories about Bill Russell is that he would let Wilt Chamberlain score kind of certain number of points because he knew if he, like, actually tried to stop him and block him, Wilt Chamberlain would, like, get serious and actually try, and then it would be
Yeah.
much harder to play him. So, who knows? Maybe it's like, let's let you get some easy stuff here. So, when it really
Could be,
matters,
honestly.
you know, who knows? But I don't know. I mean, the Bills lost today against the Dolphins, so they can't even figure out if they're good. I mean, who like who in the league NFL do you consider a good team? Like the best team, like the best three teams. If you had to pick the three best teams in the league right now, I know you're obviously putting your Colts in there, but who else?
I think Seattle's got to be there as well too. And I would just the
Yeah.
Chiefs maybe you have to default. I don't know if we're gonna go all NFC, but I was saying this before you
Or
jumped on. Like
AFC.
maybe after this week we look at it and I don't know, do we have more confidence in these NFC teams? Like if it's Seattle, LA, or
Mm,
Philly versus the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Colts, if it's like your top three AFC versus your top three NFC, I kind of like that top three NFC a little bit more than the top three AFC.
yeah.
So I maybe would go Seattle, Rams, Chiefs.
The Lions. Gotta throw them in.
Yeah, Lions is
Like
the
the
fourth
Lions
team.
being number 4 is tough.
Packers might be
Yeah,
number five.
NFC.
Like they might be not playing well, but they're still like
Yeah,
a good team.
yeah. I think yeah. The NFC is definitely running laps around the AFC, which is crazy because the AFC, in theory, I mean, if you think about it, has a lot better quarterbacks,
Yeah,
but they're either hurt or on bad teams. Like you got, um, you still got Joe Burrow's out. Lamar was out for a long time. You know, Josh Allen and Mahomes are still in, but Mahomes didn't have Rasheed Rice. We had some people banged up, um, and Bills just have horrible defense. So, like, I don't know. The best quarterbacks are still in AFC, I think, but they're just hampered by not having a complete team. While NFC, you see like the Lions, the Commanders, the Packers. Like they're just much more complete teams in the NFC than the AFC.
And it's still tough for me mentally to pick Darnold over Stafford in a game, but the Seattle
Mm.
secondary at this point, I think the completeness of the Seattle defense, like the Rams still have a little bit more name value on the defensive line. Like I think Verse might still be the best defensive line talent between the two teams, but it's still
Yeah.
pretty close at this point. And again, just the Seahawks have really built out that secondary, and both teams are
Mm.
balanced offensively. So you do have McVay as well too as another separating
Yeah.
factor, but
It's an asset.
they play next week. I was looking at the schedule earlier, so they do play next week. So that'll be obviously a real prove it game for who we think is
The
the
Rams Seahawks.
yeah for who we think is the better team there.
Mm.
But I don't even know like if the better
Yeah, we'll
team
see.
matters in the AFC, because I would still have just a blank confidence in the Chiefs to just kind of randomly stumble through the AFC again. Like you're not just
Just
you're
stumble.
not scared
Who
of
is the
anybody.
Seahawks coach now? McDonald?
McDonald, yeah, they got the
No, not
Ravens
really.
guy. Maybe the Ravens should
Will
have kept him
yeah.
and let
No,
Harbaugh go to the
no,
Seahawks.
I'm not. No, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they had him or not. Lamar was hurt like that. Unfortunately, that is all she wrote. Like Lamar was hurt. Like I don't know, but yeah, I think the NFC you can definitely see the more completeness of teams, and yeah, we'll see. I don't. And maybe it's one of those things where the the teams in the AFC have to pay all these quarterbacks, and so they couldn't keep their talent or have to the draft to keep talent on their teams. And it's tough. It's tough right now. If it was like college football and they were doing rankings,
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the AFC teams besides the Colts are up. It's crazy that the Colts are the jewel of the AFC. I mean, how on a level of like 1 to 10, how surprised are you about this season? Like, it's got to be more than 8, right? Like,
I
I
was gonna
mean, if
say
I had told you,
it's got to be
like,
like an
if I told you at the
8.5.
beginning of the season, like, if I told you at the beginning of the season, like, hey, the Colts are gonna get rid of Richardson, but you're gonna be just fine. Like that's just insane.
Yeah, I would have the Sauce Gardner part as well. If you would have told me we would have been the best team in the NFL and we would have traded for Sauce Gardner, that honestly that might have been a 9 out of 10, a 9.5 out of 10.
Right.
Honestly, like I would have thought we could have been there was an outside chance of us being a playoff team. But us maybe getting again the 1 seed and us being aggressive on the trade market, like both those things happening, is a little bit unorthodox for I guess where the Skulls team's been in the past couple of years. So yeah, I like probably almost about as maxed out on the scale as you could have been for this year.
And is it because of the Ursay switch? Like at some point, when are we gonna credit the change of
Yeah.
ownership to the winning? Because it's just been smart moves. I think there's been a lot more accountability. I think like of having the coach, the
Mm-hmm.
owner down there, and then you see moves like this trade, like this off season, or like this trade deadline. You see a move like that, and you're like, I don't ever think the Colts really have done a trade like that. I don't know.
No,
You correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
don't think so. We
Yeah.
definitely
So
traded
like,
away players. I'm trying to think who we've traded because we traded away Eric Dickerson and we traded away Marshall Falk, both those guys.
oh
No,
my
did we trade
gosh.
for Dickerson? I might have to look that back up. But either way, it wasn't for 2 first-round picks, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, so that's the question for you. Like, do you think it's the owner? Like, what changed? What the heck changed? I mean, it's Daniel Jones.
Yeah, the owner has definitely got to get a lot of credit, but I mean, the way that Daniel Jones has been playing has definitely,
Mm-hmm.
has to be factored into it as well too. But with the Sauce Gardner trade, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, that is a aggressive move that you make if you feel like maybe you are going to be good for the next couple of years. So they don't have Daniel Jones on necessarily a long-term deal yet, but seems like they're going to work that out in the offseason. So do you think that this team is like a 4-year? See, because that's the part that I think the Colts fans are
I don't
balancing
think
right
so.
now is do we get into that situation where yes, we do have one really good season, but does it corrupt the next like 4 to 5 years? Like that's what I think that's sort of the
Exactly.
fear. And I don't know. Do you think that could happen?
Yeah, I think it could. I mean, the NFL is a lot easier to move on from contracts. So, like, if you give Daniel Jones like a 4 or 5 year, you
But
guys
it's the
could
time
just
lost as well too.
Exactly. But I mean, so far better than whatever Richardson did. Are you surprised y'all got rid of him like that?
I
Like,
think he's still on the team. He's just not starting right now.
oh, I thought he was cut.
No, he's still there. Are you more surprised that he is still there, honestly,
Yeah,
than not
honestly.
cut? I think he's just our
I
he's our
mean,
backup. He's our QB too. If Daniel Jones goes
so
down, the
what?
franchise is in the hands of Anthony Richardson.
Oh, jeez. So, what is your expectations for this team? I mean, obviously, like probably win a playoff game. Like, are you? I guess the same similar questions with home field advantage and with a bye. If you finish the year as the first seed, would you be upset? I mean, I guess you have to win a game and then you're in the conference championship. So, do you think you can win a playoff game? I guess is the question. Like, are you guys going to the Super Bowl? What were we thinking?
I think that's a good way to phrase the ceiling for this team might be 2 wins. So if they're a 2 seed and they have to play in the wild card round, they may win that divisional game and end up in the conference championship game. But the only way that they get to the Super Bowl, I think, is if they're the 1 seed. I don't know if they can win 3 playoff games in a row and get to the Super Bowl and then win a fourth to win the Super Bowl. But I think they could win 2 in a row as the 1 seed. They could win that divisional and then the conference championship and then maybe be in the Super Bowl that way. So there is a path for them to be in the Super
Wow,
Bowl, but
that'd be crazy. The Colts in the Super Bowl.
in the Super Bowl, but I'm like, it might be like
Wow,
Seattle or Stafford winning the Super Bowl this year. It might be like a Colts Rams, Colts Seahawks Super Bowl, which I don't know if is going to go down in the books. Like Colts Seahawks,
that'd be a
Darnold
great
versus
Super Bowl. I
Daniel
feel like.
Jones. Darnold versus Daniel Jones, that might be like a Kerry Collins Dilfer Super Bowl.
Oh my goodness, that's insane. You said wait, Daniel Jones and who?
Sam Darnold, if it's the Seahawks.
Darnold. Oh, geez, Sam Darnold at least has some pedigree. I
At this
I
point, I
mean,
almost
if
hope
they play,
Stafford wins the Super Bowl.
yeah, honestly, if they lace them up right now, would you pick the Colts over the Chiefs?
I would not. I would still think Mahomes would win that game. I still think that you have the two.
I know, faith.
Maybe Taylor is the second. Taylor can, I guess, be the best player in that game, so I still have to give him his credit. But you do have maybe the 2 best players in the game if Mahomes and Chris Jones are cooking. So that's always going to be the factor. Like if Chris Jones can still play like the best defensive player in the league at snap to snap.
We'll
so
see.
That is still a factor as well too.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice has been good too, back on the injury. But yeah, no, I didn't. I'm trying to think what else I meant to get off my chest. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Nothing much been happening over here. Just watching games and seeing you pop off. I guess. Oh, I did see a post going into a little bit of music. I did see a post that for like the first time in I think 75 years, there's no rap song in the top 100, Hot 100. I mean, what do you think about that? Like, is that a legit, like, has rap music been so bad lately that it shouldn't be in the top 100? Because it's been bad. I don't know. Drake recently came out with a song. I've been looking around for other songs, but even looking at Rap Caviar, like it's been bad for rap lately, but has it been that bad?
Well, what have you been listening to a lot of new music? Have you been going like way back in time? Like what has your rotation consisted of in 2025?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's been mostly last year's stuff. I haven't added much new stuff to my playlist recently. I mean, mostly my high school playlist.
So is that?
But it is interesting, especially with the lawsuit coming out that Drake got billions of streams. I mean, like, I guess the question is rap good anymore?
Well, because like, if you're asking me if it's good, I still think, yeah, like I find there's a ton of great songs that I love from this year, a ton of great projects. The Billboard charting thing is always interesting to, figure out what crosses over, of course, and becomes a hit. But I guess maybe first of all, as well, too, with your guy Drake, like, are you bringing this up because you think that this is like, because I think that this is maybe the one sort of mini win that he could have in just him trying to get to his next album is the charts being depleted like this, because a lot of people were talking about what is the narrative of his next project, and is it going to be about this dispute with the label, and maybe he's still able to work some sort of way he's able to save the industry, but maybe it's in a different type of way where he is the hit maker, because this is as a
Mm,
main Drake fan, is that's got to be one of the first things you thought, because again, I'm not going to say, well, he is going to be one of my main. He's going to be in my top 10 of all time. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not going to listen to Drake. Like, hey,
yeah,
yo, I grew up in the 2010s, but that was one of the first thing I thought of as well too. Was like, oh, this is going to be a narrative. Like, he's the hit
yeah,
maker, and the charts doesn't have hits. So is it him, or is he also at fault as well too? Because he has released music within the past couple of years, and
exactly.
I guess what is supposed to be the staying power of that music. So do you think that the game, like, how do you think his relation to that charts thing works right now?
Yeah, I think it's been rough. I think it's been rough. He had the record for like a song for the longest time on the charts. So like he's no stranger to the charts. He's literally broken records about it. But and I think he also had charts about like the most number ones and all that. It's just the Kendrick I think the Kendrick thing hit him too hard. I mean, throwing around, calling him a pedophile and stuff, like that is like pretty much one of the worst things you can really attach to someone's reputation. And I think Drake has taken a huge hit because of it. And just in terms of the culture, like people being like, yeah, why is he saying the N word? Like stuff like that. It's just, I think in the end, like no one has really won. And like, I love Kendrick Lamar, but at the same time, like he doesn't really churn out music like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of, there's definitely great artists who are making music and stuff, but I mean like in terms of like the big label people, there hasn't been much. And I think the rap battle, while it was huge and great in its moment, I think it might have hurt the industry more than people realize because of the severity of what they were throwing around in terms of calling each other, in terms of what they were accusing each other. And I think we're now seeing the effects where it's like, oh my gosh, like, and especially with the whole Epstein files and stuff, like it's just maybe things people don't want to deal with anymore. And so I don't know. I just wonder what the future of rap is gonna look like on the mainstream media. I mean, there's always gonna be creators making stuff, but yeah, mainstream mostly.
And because Drake did drop projects and he did drop singles in July. So again, I don't really know what the lifespan of these is supposed to be. Are these supposed to all be hits that have 6-month lifespans? And again, we're not talking about top 10. We're talking about like, top 40, top 100. So they're,
Yeah, it's the top 100. That's the crazy part.
yeah,
Like
there
you
is
don't,
a
you
little
gotta be
bit of a
kind
range
of
here
close. Yeah.
for sure. But again, I would still say that there is a quality part of it that is still good as well too. So do you think it is
Mm.
more on the listeners or on the artists, or is it a notoriety? Is it like just these, are you just not aware of what projects are being dropped, or the new ones, or are you not
Mm.
interested in the new artists because it's like I have my rotation and I'm kind of locked in this way. I don't know if the streaming, like storing the library in that way, maybe makes us less likely or more likely to listen to new music. I think because we're still trying to figure out how all of this streaming stuff works together, because even now country is
Yeah.
starting to move into the streaming space in a more dominant way. So just in a numbers and time spent sort of thing, like now, again, we're getting, even still, as you would think 2025, this is the way that we are, like we're still moving into that industry in a more 100% type of way. But because again, if it, to me, it's not quality, but do you think it is quality, or do you think it is just the way that the industry is moving right now, and maybe I'm not able to articulate what that is? But again, I still think that there's a ton of great music being dropped all throughout, and you can get
Yeah.
into the classic debates as well too. But again, we're talking about, can I bump it right now in my car and have a good time? Yeah, there's still a ton of great songs.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more in terms of the industry, and I think it may be even in terms of like advertisers and stuff. Because like, do you really want to be promoting an accused pedophile? Someone who's been
Mm-hmm.
accused of something insane. And so I think when he now has a project, it's not as easily pumped up or featured or shown. And Kendrick Lamar's music has always been a little bit more edgy and stuff, and I think Drake's tried to be kind of that middle between pop and rap. And now it's like, well, you're accused of this, like we don't want our brand associated with this. So, why don't we just pump out more Tate McRae or Taylor Swift or all these other options that they have that,
Hey, now Tate McRae.
are
I do
really
like Tate
popular.
McRae. I'll throw some Tate McRae on.
Exactly. So it's like they've never been accused of this stuff. And the same thing is happening now with like Sydney Sweeney, where now it's harder for her to get into other media projects and stuff because it's like, hey, you were a part of this whole thing. People really don't like you, and now that's why she's going on podcasts trying to defend herself and stuff. But I think it's just more of advertisers and people who are trying to sell products are definitely don't want their name associated with controversial things, and Drake is controversial now, and it's like, well, and he's like legitimately he's always been sneak dissing and stuff, but his controversy has hit the mainstream where it's like, oh, like, him literally being the pedophile being like mentioned in a very mainstream song is where it's like, oh, okay, like this is not a theory anymore, like, or it's not just in the black community or in the rap community, like everyone knows about it and you can't run from it.
I guess, but maybe just on like a more basic music level though, like who is the last new artist that you would say you've added into your rotation in a major way? Because even Playboi Carti was dropping back. Like, yes, his discography is a little more limited, but that's just because he's taken so much time between albums. Like, he was dropping back in 17 and even in, like, SoundCloud era and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying to think when he, started to get on Spotify. So, there's been we were in high school a decade ago. So there's been that, that growth in adulthood that we've had with him. So, like, he's carried over a little bit and he's been able to accumulate those new fans. But, I mean, Drake is, like, obviously a guy that's been around for... So maybe, we just need to continue to give some of these new artists time as well, too. To maybe it just takes a little bit longer to build an audience. But are you adding new guys into your rotation all the time? Or are you waiting for the guys that you listen to drop new projects?
Yeah, I think it's more of the people I listen to drop new projects. If I hear something I like, I'll add it. But, I mean, I'm just looking at, like, the top songs. Like, it's Taylor Swift. It's the Hunter X soundtrack. It's, some other here and there, Christmas stuff. But there's nothing major, I think, in terms of, like, music like that. And, oh, it's funny. People are doing a TikTok right in front of me. And, yeah.
Are you in it? REMINGTOM Pod, shout out?
No, I don't. They're doing something. But it's just one of those things where I don't. It's sad, and it makes me wonder what is the future of the rap game.
Because, like, I really love this latest JID album, and I know that you're not somebody that, like, I think listens to him a ton. But I'm curious about a guy like that, like why he hasn't quite moved up and had like the first week numbers and some of the extra commercial success that even a guy, like J. Cole, maybe, yes, he didn't get to like 1 million first week the way that Drake did, but he's obviously over the course of his career been way more commercially successful than most of the newer guys today. Like, I don't understand why an artist like him, who I think, yes, he does get a little lyrical, but also his beat selection and his song structuring, I think, is about as mainstream as some of these other artists as well too. So that's the part I'm curious about, again, where I think, or like the new Key Glock album, which I think is a little bit more, maybe hip hop focused, but there's just, for some reason, some of the breaking through of these guys that have not been the main guys from maybe a handful of years ago hasn't necessarily happened in a way that I'm, confused by. And I don't know if it's the people, getting featured in the right ways on certain songs or whatever. But yeah, I feel like people are having a tougher time breaking new artists into their rotation and, expanding their rotations in that way. Where, again, we're just kind of building on the guys we've been listening to in the past as well too. But you could say for the pop stars, like, they are having the new stars emerge, and Tate McRae is a new star, and in some ways Sabrina Carpenter is a new star as well too. So I honestly don't really know why the commercial thing is failing the way that it is, because again, I think that a lot of these songs are really, really good, and I just am biased toward the genre as well too. Like, it's like, why isn't in my opinion, the best song like this the #1 hit? It's a little bit of the personal bias as well too. But if I was just looking at it and trying to be like, okay, song structure, beat selection, like what is wrong here? Like, it still feels like there is a lot of things that are going right. So maybe like you're saying, it is actually industry type things in the labels, and there is something kind of going on extra. Because again, I still really like a lot of the music.
Yeah, and I mean, even with Jid, I mean, the last time he released an album was like 3 years ago. Just looking at his discography real quick.
But he just dropped one this year. See what I mean?
Yeah, no, he dropped one this year, but like, it's just so infrequent, in terms of like, I think for people, for promoters and stuff, they're looking for that consistency. Like people are essentially willing to work themselves to death.
So you
And
think so you think that nobody's been able to kind of perfect that yearly drop maybe the way that Drake did, because he did
yeah,
balance that with the mixtape album, collab
exactly.
album, major feature stuff every year. And yes, obviously at the end of
Yeah,
the day, he was always dropping quality, but
yeah,
yeah, he was able to always consistently produce. And you're right, that is the one thing that Kendrick, if we're just, comparing the careers, has not done, is, and it's paid off as well too. Like we've been able to get a career where he's had these masterfully crafted projects and they're always fantastic. Like yes, that's the way that, and I guess if Kendrick upped his output, I'm not saying it would get worse. I'm just saying
yeah.
that his career has been great the way that it is, but it hasn't been the like you're saying, the year to year commercial
Hmm.
year. And maybe again, like, to populate the charts all the time, you do need that. So I do, like I'm saying, I do think that this is a win for your guy leading up to this next album, where it's like,
Yeah,
because
we'll see.
there's no way that those songs don't end up in the charts. I don't know what the
Yeah, if
lifespan
they're
of that
good,
is,
they
but
will. Yeah.
they're gonna get
But
there.
they have to be good nowadays. He has to compete. Like it's not just guaranteed anymore.
But has there been anything new, like non-Drake, or just anything in general that you've liked this year?
Now I need to listen to Dave, the boy who played the harp. I did listen a little bit to Cardi B's new
The
album. I
Cardi B
thought it
album
was
is
okay.
good.
Yeah, it was decent. Yeah, I haven't listened to much else. Let me see here. What have I been maining? Um,
Has some
I
sexy
think
songs for
I
you
was
to stay in the
listening to
rotation.
Ian's new one. Ian new his new one. Magic Johnson guy. Um,
Wait, did you say Ian?
yeah,
Hey. What about like
he's
Playboy?
good.
Are you still listening to Playboy Cardi's projects? I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of Kendrick, I have been bumping that "Good Credit" song a lot lately. NBA season
I
starting.
don't know.
Kenny, heavy
Did
out
he
west,
release something new?
carries the weight. He's Luka Doncic. What?
Did Playboy release something new?
Well, the album from earlier the year, music.
Yeah, our music. Yeah, for sure. I had a couple of those.
That's still in the rotation.
Yeah. I mean, timeless is timeless, but I think I was listening
What
to.
about the new Weekend
Yeah, I
album?
had some of those. I'm not a Weekend fan. The Weekend.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not a fan of it. No, but yeah, I think it's just been a mix. Evil Jordan, I did listen to. Yeah, but yeah, I haven't updated my list that much this year. It's been weird for sure.
No, I think that has been a common thread though, because I find myself with my friend circle as well too. They're not just like always in the same. Because I mean, that is of course just a major thing that you guys are, that you're just sharing amongst friends, is the new music that you find. And I feel like,
Yeah,
I haven't been approached with the new music finds the same way that I have in the past, because I think the industry again is just the new music awareness hasn't necessarily been there the same way. But I do also think, particularly for our circle as well too, we've been going back in time a lot with the music, so it's been a lot of 80s 90s
yeah,
stuff in
that
the
too.
cars.
I
And
have been.
I feel like that is, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I feel like that's not just us. I feel like there is that sort of, we're kind of going, like the rotation in terms of the decades is opening up a little bit as well too. Not to say that again, like you're saying, timeless music hasn't always been timeless. I know you're talking about the Playboy Cardi song there, but I do feel like there has been a little bit of movement to like, hey, we don't have to play the new stuff. We can go back and play the stuff that still is aging great and still timeless and still classic
yeah.
and all that. Like, hey,
No,
we don't
I've
have to
been
stop
listening for
listening to
sure. I know,
Tupac
and
and
a friend of the pod has been making sure I get back into the older music, and yeah, it's so much so that my algorithm's kind of all wonky now, and like now my Discover Weekly doesn't work right, so I need to reclaim my algorithm more
Wait, so
back.
what
But
decade are you in right now? Like, are you like 90s a
no,
lot?
I mean she's like 80s, 90s, yeah, somewhere in there. It's usually a mix.
What are we listening to?
I don't know. Like, it's not. The problem is I don't really know the artist. I just let her play her music, honestly. But
Yeah.
Maybe I need to get her on the pod and ask her. But
Because it's like, hey, if
yeah,
you
it's
don't
usually
like
a
Kid
mix. I'm
Carson, you
trying to
can just
think.
listen to Barry White. Like,
Ashanti and
oh, okay.
yeah, lots of Destiny Child, of course. Ashanti, at least old Alicia Keys,
Alicia Keys. I had some
Music Show
Alicia Keys on
Child.
at the gym this morning.
Oh, okay. A little bit of Genuine, you know.
No, of course.
It's a mix.
Maybe okay. So some definite some '90s
Thundercat.
R&B
Yesterday
for
we were
sure.
listening to Pump It Up by Joe Budden. I never heard Joe Budden's one song. I just knew his podcast.
I did save a couple Joe Budden albums to listen to. I just heard somebody talking about how his career is underrated. So I was like, you know what? I've heard him spit. I was just hearing him like randomly pull. I was randomly pulling up on YouTube like some old responses to some diss tracks that he had, and I was like, yeah, he's actually
Yeah.
spitting bars here. So I was like, I'm gonna need to go actually check out the songs that he's dropped. But yeah, that's where I've been at. Like I was saying, if I'm not necessarily finding a ton of artists, because like I'm saying, even Jid, he goes back a little bit as well too in time in terms of I've kind of grown up with him as an artist. But if I'm not necessarily gravitating toward the new artists, I can always go back in time and discover artists that way as well too. Like that's not allowed. And I feel like.
And I think that's what I think, especially with AI music and like ghostwriters and stuff. I think people are now going more and more back in time because, it's just the music hasn't been as good. It just hasn't been hitting.
And I don't know if does music. Yes, we need to be pushing forward, but it doesn't seem like it is like movies in the same type of way where maybe the industry, the sustainability of it, the ability to create music is different than the ability to create like a major movie.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying if we never got any music again, that would be bad. But if you had to choose for us to stop releasing music and just choose all the music we've had, or us to stop releasing movies and just to watch all the movies that we've made, which one would you choose?
I think it's definitely music. I think
And we've been making
I
music
think
longer
movies
too.
you can get like different stuff on there. I think movies range a little bit more, but I think music, like just with beats and stuff, it feels like everyone's heard the same beats by now. It's the same. Like we're just so much sampling and stuff. It's insane. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty much all the same at this point.
Yeah. So is your artist or your favorite artist still the same? Would you still say Drake?
Yeah. I still would stick. I'm still like Drake a lot. Lil Tecca is still there. Playboy. It's still the same-ish ones. But it does vary a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Who are your mains?
Oh yeah, my mains haven't changed yet. I just didn't. 2025 saw some major shifts, but no, Drake, and I think you go to Spotify now too. Drake's comfortably ahead of Kendrick in the streaming numbers, so it's all back to normal over there as well.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe those are fake.
It's all bots.
But anyways, I do
what's your
gotta
favorite
go
movie
though, man.
of 2025, real quick, before you go?
My favorite movie?
Favorite movie of 2025?
Oh, Sinners. Yeah,
okay,
Sinners.
Good. Just still.
Is that yours?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, by a lot. Yeah. I didn't watch the new Tron or him, but I might go see those.
I heard him was a little disappointing, so I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
I probably will go try to see this new Predator Badlands movie as soon as possible, but I don't know if it's going to be movie of the year like Sinners. I think maybe just a fun time. Weapons was good, but wasn't Sinners, so.
And I think honestly it's just harder and harder to make really great stuff because the level of what is great keeps rising as more and more people create more and more content. It's just like you can only shift words to be in a certain way. So like a lot of the content now, like maybe if it came out 20 years it'd be considered great, but now it's like, oh, we've seen this already. Like, I don't know.
Hey. Well, let's go, chat. We got Sam. There we go.
There you go. The call in for sure. I'll be watching for sure on the YouTube, and definitely will stop by sometime. Hopefully before the playoffs. So, but good seeing you, man.
Yeah, always good to see you too.
You enjoy the time. I know everything's up right now for you. So.
Yeah, we gotta really enjoy it. Make no mistake, this Daniel Jones thing is gonna turn back into a pumpkin real soon.
That's funny. All right, we'll see you later.
All right, later. All right, we'll be back, chat. We're going to break.
Bye.
All right, chat, welcome back. And I guess, thank you for joining us as well, too. We're going to be wrapping up the show here, but another Sunday night classic edition. Every time Sam calls in, of course, it is a classic. I guess, hey, do we have to put up a number on the screen? Are we taking callers yet? Maybe IT will, continue to get the technology. For now, we only have the technology to, send out so many bat phones. I don't know if we can have, everybody with a secret, phone ready to dial up anytime we need them. The Captain America Iron Man cell phone, I think, is what we ended up shipping him over. So, again, we only can really send that out to so many fans. I guess maybe we'll do like a first 100 situation comments. I don't know. IT will figure out the drawing, but we'll also potentially get a number, maybe take callers that way. I don't know. DM us at REMINGTOM Pod on Instagram if you want to send us a message for now, though. That is one way to connect for sure. Pause. Otherwise, yeah, like Sam said, he'll be watching on the YouTubes. If you guys want to watch along with Sam, the YouTubes is the place to do it. Otherwise, you can follow the podcast feeds as well, too. They do get posted to the podcast feed, so they're on Spotify, Apple, all the major platforms over there as well. So yeah, of course, always good to see our guys. Shout out. Thank you guys for jumping on with us tonight, and we will be back Tuesday night. We've got a special, maybe a movie week lined up for the Rem and Sam pod. I guess it depends on whether or not we actually get to see this new Predator movie this week, because I think we got a special movie queued up for you guys Tuesday night. I don't know, hint, I think the anniversary of this movie was today, but we were like, hey, do we headline with this movie, or do we just focus on week 10 of the NFL? And I think maybe this late window we could have headlined with the movie, but regardless, it'll be Tuesday night, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, like I said, have fun next couple